A good shepherd is he, the one that guides me. Though in darkness I find myself alone, I lack nothing, for my God above me his throne. All his love he has shown. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. The silent storm of chaos follows close behind, but in him comfort I find. I find still waters flow gently, reminding me in him I find safety. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. I don't walk alone no matter where I go, on the highest mountain or the back alleyways. The Lord with me he stays. He restores my soul, renewed, unbroken, his righteousness spoken. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. Guidance, protection, this is his love's reflection, guarding me from the opposition. The Lord's feet show me a righteous direction. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. Overflowing blessings, anointed with oil, the Lord protects my soul from eternal turmoil. My cup overflows, his mercy he shows, abundance he sows. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever, no matter where. For the Lord's goodness and mercy are in me, a faithful love entirely. Though in darkness I walk alone, in a world so cold, this is my life, above me his throne.
it safe to fall asleep? Is it safe to dream? Eyes open to all these weird things. Alice knew what she had to do. Keep calm and journey on. A splendid time it could be, taking the high road blissfully. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Hectic white rabbit racing against the clock, but Alice had another thought. She knew she ruled the plot, so she ate this and drank that. Was simple as tit for tat. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. A caterpillar smoke rings, he really thought he knew things. Two sides to the same thing, blowing smoke rings, cool and cryptic, but Alice didn't miss it. Big or small, Alice would not fall. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Floating smiles disappearing, sitting in a tree, smiling constantly. A type of madness with clarity, as the Cheshire Cat kept grinning. Alice took what she could and headed back into the woods. Time was ticking, the Mad Hatter was slipping, the mushrooms were kicking, the journey was about to begin. Mad Hatter tea party with dormers and hair, they could have lost their minds anywhere, but it was neither here nor there.
That was kind of rough for a minute there. All right. Welcome to this thing is reverberating a little bit. Welcome to PRT. Join us on The Real Reality. Let's get the mic messed up yesterday. For those of you who noticed the audio problems yesterday, I apologize for that. Yesterday and the day before, we had some audio problems. Lisa Foy says she likes my shirt. They're still reverberating. My shirt's Speedy Gonzalez.
Turn your headphones down, maybe.
Because
it sounds fine on my end.
How does it sound to you guys at home? Do you guys? Does it sound normal to you? I'm about to bring Richards on, but he keeps getting up. Once he sits his butt down, then I'll bring him on here. There we go.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? I was wondering when you were going to sit down. Like he just keeps getting up and getting up and getting up.
Yes, the OCD.
That crack is a hell of a drug. He just.
I'm telling you.
He just keeps up and down, up and down. So how's everything in the icy north?
Good. How are you?
You just couldn't resist.
How's life?
He had to run down there and get him one of those delicious human flesh and egg and cheese biscuits.
Do Canadians really know what's in their coffee?
Exactly. They don't know. They probably don't. They're poisoning the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
But do we as Americans know? Because we're drinking poison every day and eating it too. I mean, it's what's for breakfast.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, you know what I found today? I was just. They call it doom scrolling. I don't like that term. I heard Maddie use it, and so she, so obviously it's young people talk, whatever. So I'm not into that young people and their flying machines. So I just said, I'm not going to use that because that sounds like I said, it sounds like something that Maddie would say, and she does. But so you scroll and you're just looking whatever. Yeah. And came across this old. I posted it on my personal Facebook page, not the PRT community page, or not the PRT. What is it? We have a PRT page, Paranormal Roundtable group page.
I don't know. We have a group and a page.
Well, the group is a page too. That is a group, but it's a group, right? So there's the PRT page. There's a Josh Turner PRT page. It was like a fan page, whatever. And I didn't make it. I don't know. And then we have a regular. So this would be on my personal Facebook. Okay. So don't get confused with all the other pages and groups, whatever. But this one, it was interesting. It was a McDonald's ad, right? On the ad, it was for like little kids, like it's for, you could tell it was aimed at children. And it was from probably the 70s or 80s. And it's Ronald McDonald. He's sitting there and he's like, and a little kid pops up out of the bag and he says, "Amazing what can be in these bags." Like,
What the
yeah, it's right there in plain
Wow.
sight, right? And then there's another one they did, and there's a couple. They show a couple of these old commercials, right? And the whole theme is, children.
They have to tell you what they're doing.
They're telling you.
Yeah.
Abe Finkelstein was dressed up as Ronald.
Yeah, he's on there. Let me tell you, A.B. Finkelstein from New York, and and he's on there doing whatever the hell he's doing. No, it's pretty horrible, man. I mean, I'm telling you. And I've been having these weird dreams. I know that the people are coming in the dreams are coming to us to mess with us. It's the truth.
That's not good.
That sounds crazy. It sounds crazy because you don't live in the real reality. You don't know what the real reality is. When you don't know what it is, you're not going to know.
Mm-hmm.
But so here's an interesting thing. Tomorrow night, folks. Tomorrow night is the first of the paywall. If you're on the Patreon, you're going to get this episode, and it is absolute fire.
It's a really cool one.
I enjoyed talking to the guy. I enjoyed getting his information. He talks. He's East Asian. He's from Hong Kong, but he talks really fast. Like he speaks English really fast. A lot of people that are from another country, they speak kind of deliberate like this. He's talking fast. And it was almost like he was trying to talk fast so something wouldn't happen to him, like, dude, you're scaring me. We have to hurry up and get this information out before I be killed,
Yeah, before the Chinese police show up.
Yeah, well, he's living in Taiwan now, so once they invade Taiwan, I'm sure he'll be on their list.
Yeah,
but he's not living in Taiwan. His family lives in Taiwan, but he is basically on the run. He's kind of like that guy Kit, the one that does the Mandela effect.
Oh yeah. The clone.
Man, that dude, he's got some stuff going on in his life. I mean, but he's a clone. I mean, let's put it this way. If the stories are to be believed, and he sounds very believable, one of the things when you talk to somebody and, if you're wondering if they're lying or they're putting you on, one of the things you can do, I mean, if they talk very fluid and they don't have to stop and then think about it, especially if they're telling you a story, people might forget some things or locations, whatever, and kind of go, okay. But I always look for that. If somebody is if they're telling me and then they go, oh, wait, and they change it to make it sound better. And people do that with the truth. They'll dress it up. But, it seems like, when people talk pretty quick and they're pretty deliberate and it's just, you can tell they're recalling it from memory. And so I don't know if that's the case. I mean, some people probably could fool anybody, but it just, to me, I think that's what it is. I look for that. And these people, they like that dude Kit. I mean, he talked very clear. He didn't play around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just very on the point. And he says, look, if you believe me, you believe me. I'm not trying to convince you. He goes, you have a platform. I want the word to be out there. We're not paying this guy. What purpose does he have? He's not showing his face. So why would he care? You know what I mean? You got to really be careful with the ones that just really want to be on there so they can be seen and heard and all that, because you don't know what they're up to. Like, why is it so important for you? But then some people just talk good, and I'll invite them to come on and be on the show. And then we got this story, the woman from Arturo's thing. That is crazy, dude. Her name is Tiffany. She was in San Antonio. She was one of the women that over the years, Albert. I think it was, what did Albert was the one that, he's the one that bodyguarded the women. Mm-hmm. It was him. Albert. So he gets in touch with me and he tells me, this is like right after we had talked, and he said he had this girl that had a story that would knock my socks off. I said, well, it's going to take a lot to do that because I've heard it all. And so he says, no, believe me. And so I talked to this woman day before yesterday, Saturday. Unbelievable what she told me. And it was like I had to get up and go downstairs and talk, and I was half asleep. So I'm sitting there on the phone, kind of like, yeah. And then when she started talking, I was like, whoa, like it's better than coffee for me hearing a good story. And hers is an incredible one. She was. This is just a teaser because we're going to do this one on the Patreon. She was basically held hostage by 3 guys posing as sort of like, not frat boys. They weren't in a frat, but they were like college kids, right? And when they were holding her, they did what they did to her. They were changing. They were shape-shifting. Yeah. She tells an incredible story. And there again, like when she was talking, it was just straight to the point, straight to the facts. She was like, look, this is what happened to me. They gave her a drug, initially. But she said that this went on. And she goes, this was not, I've been, drug on drugs before. She was obviously, when she was stripping, she did this. And she said, this wasn't the drug. And they kept telling her, if you say anything about what you see, we're going to kill you. We're going to do this. We're going to do. They kept on threatening her. And it went on. And she said that it was like hours at this party. And it was an incredible story. But that one, anyway, that one's a crazy one. And then we still haven't done the guy that was basically, he was made into a hostage. And I have a few of these. It's not like there's just one or two, but there's been a couple that people have told me where they've been held up, by these beings. But this was a guy that was the girl that he was seeing, basically she was with another guy. And she conned him into being a hostage for these narcos. Huh. And so she coke muled, basically, and that's what happened. And the whole time, these guys were like, yeah, you better hope she's coming back. And he thinks that they were vampires. That's basically what they were. I mean, all the, signs point to that being what it was. And he was like, man, crazy stuff, man. They gave him drugs and booze to they plied him to keep him docile, the whole time, kind of reminding him that, hey, if this doesn't work out, we're going to drink your blood. We're going to eat you. It was nuts. So this is the kind of stuff going on, man. And people don't realize. And when these people try to tell somebody,
yeah, you're the crazy one.
Mm-hmm. T-Mac says, sounds like Dust Till Dawn. No, it's not Dust Till Dawn. He wasn't in no nice strip club with Selma Hayek. He was with some
dingy motel or something.
No, it wasn't a motel either. It was a house. It was just a dingy, dirty, nasty house with these thugs in there that practiced vampirism. That's all it was. But it was a nightmare, and so those stories are going to come out. We're going to be telling those. I can't tell you just how many incredible stories there are out there. You just got to find them, but most people don't look for it. What they're doing is they're looking for everybody to come on their show and just tell it themselves. And in those stories, you're only going to get so many to do that. You only there's only so many people that are willing or able to retell the stories.
There's a lot of people who have encounters, but of that pool of people, there's a small group of people who are willing to send you their encounters, and there's an even smaller group of people willing to tell it themselves, and an even smaller willing to come on the show live video and tell it themselves.
It gets the pool gets really small. Mm-hmm. When I was working with those people from Seattle on that new show, and I was telling them, I gave them a bunch of people. And the question was, how good are they at telling? Well, I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Because some of these people, I just told their encounter myself. I mean, I can give you the witnesses how good they are at retelling the story. That's on you. That's your job. I'm giving you the story, but I think that they like to choose people who've already kind of been out there because they already know what they're looking at. But and it sucks that so many people can't talk, as good, because you would get a lot more information out there if more people were able to speak, you know.
Storytelling's a gift, though, and certain
It
people
is.
have it and
Yeah.
certain don't. Like you've got it where a lot of people don't really. They get nervous and they're not able to articulate themselves, and they're not very
Yeah.
good public speakers, right? Isn't that number one fear is public speaking?
It is.
Public humiliation,
That
yeah.
that and standing. People, I always tell people it's a joke, but to picture yourself naked in front of a bunch of people, and that, so then you go on there with clothes on, you're fine, But me, I don't care. Like, I mean, I've been a speaker forever, and I guess when I was younger there was some fear, but I remember a talent show when I was a kid, and I got on there, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say, so I brought my baseball cards up there, and I had the history of baseball just memorized. And Anthony, you know that.
Yeah,
I can tell you all about the baseball, football, basketball, all
like
of
an
it.
encyclopedia.
Like I can give you everything. Like I'm like Rain Man when it comes to that. And so I went up there and I started talking, and I gave them the history of it, and I had all these old newspaper clippings and things, and they loved it. I won that show, and there were kids that were mad because they got up there and they, played the harmonica or whatever the hell they did, and they weren't talented as me. And someone said, "Wait, you just got up there and showed people your baseball cards." I said, "Yeah, I got up there and I gave them the history of it." It wasn't just that, And I talked about the team, and one of them was the Yankees from the 60s. And my dad was a big Yankees fan back then, until Steinbrenner took it over and did a Jerry Jones to it. So, that's kind of what happened with me. That's how, and I just said, you know what, I'm pretty good at this speaking thing. And I was, whatever team I was on, we were usually pretty good at sports. Not that a couple teams that sucked, but maybe not always winning championships, but you're competing for them, because I'm really hyper competitive, when it comes to, sports and things like that. And so, what's up, Fred? I assume it's Fred Denny.
Not a whole lot yourself.
I'm good, man. I'm good. But I think that's how it all started. I'm telling everybody about the.
Oh, hold on. Let me. It's,
Looks like you were inside a space cruiser for a second there, Fred. Did you
Yeah,
just get
he was
back
being
from Mars,
abducted.
or-
tape over the camera.
Good for you. I do that too.
Hold on. Have you ever heard about red mercury?
Yeah, I have. Do you want to talk about it?
Also called vampire blood.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you want to talk about, Fred?
Just a question about maybe periodic table elements that's not on there, that's in the dark, that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm. So
Would
you
there be
think that
more?
red mercury is actually something that could be belongs on the elemental table?
Didn't Bob Lazar years ago say something, he had like 2 or
Mhm.
4 elements that they just now brought out not too
Yeah.
long ago?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing too. We have elements known to man. That doesn't mean that we don't, because there are things that they find all the time that are not known. I worked with a guy up in Nevada years ago, and he was just a average guy. He worked at a golf in Carson City, right outside of Carson City. He worked at a golf course, and I ended up working at the casino with him. And I'll be real honest, at that time, I just working security there was just something to just pass the time while I drank and gambled and fought with everybody. And I was kind of a directionless person at that time. I knew I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what. And being a gangster really wasn't high on my list. It was just something that happened. You just kind of fall into an occupation. They're like, hey, you're pretty good at beating the hell out of people. Let's take you and elevate you to a station where you can beat the hell out of people. And so I ended up, my life took a weird turn. But this guy, he told me, he says, it's amazing what could happen to you. Your life can take a turn like that. And so I snapped my fingers, didn't even hear it. But he told me this, right? And I remember I'm not going to say his name because I don't know, man. The guy disappeared. Like he didn't disappear, but like he came and got his check and said, I'm out of here. I got to go. He was on the golf course working there, and this is what he told me. He told me, and there was this other guy named Eldrick that worked there. He's a black guy. And Eldrick said, that guy got some crazy stories, bro. He be talking crazy, bro. Like, and so this little guy, you know, and I went up to him. I'll call him B. And so I went up to him and I said, hey, you know, this guy Eldrick said you were working with him one night, and he, you know, I was real interested in this kind of stuff. And he told me that you found something very unique on the golf course in one of the holes. And he says, yeah, I did. Not in the hole that you know, but it was like a ditch, like a hole, like, and somebody had left something there. And he said it was a paper sack, and it had rained, which was weird, and it wasn't wet. So it sparked his interest. He opens it up, and there's these like 3 layers, like it was like wrapped in a U, and then there was this other thing inside of it, and it was metal. And he said you could take it and squeeze it, and it would pop back out.
Like it would retain its shape.
Mm-hmm. So he said that he was sitting there on the couch one day. This is back in the mid 90s, whatever. He said, I was sitting there on the couch and I was watching this show. He goes, and it comes on TV, and there was this guy talking about the Roswell crash.
Yep.
And he was talking about and so what he did, he contacted a friend of his that worked at a lab. And this guy wasn't no astrophysicist or anything, but he knew people who were. And so he got in contact with this other guy, and they came and they got it from him. And they said, well, you know, we'll bring it back to you. And they didn't. So he kept calling. So they said, how much is this junk? They tried to say like it was junk, right? They told him, this is what this guy told me. And most people wouldn't even think twice to go in and talk to this guy, because what good is the information for you? Mm-hmm. But for me, that was it was very important, you know, because I just knew one day I was going to be writing a book, and it was going to be the best book ever written about all the things of the world.
Of course.
The universe in a nutshell. Then Stephen Hawking, he beat me to it.
Fuck that.
We should sue him.
I don't even believe that he's
got to sue his estate.
How do you know what he's saying? How do you even know that that's really?
Well, it's just like Helen Keller. Like
it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like Guy Anderson's always saying. He's like, this is all bullshit.
Yeah,
it is all bull.
None of this.
It's all bullshit. Dude. It's a psyop. Everything is.
It is.
But I'm like you, Dick. I'm black pilled big time. So I don't.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So here's what happened. So I interviewed this guy, and he says, why are you so interested in this? I've never had anybody even bother to ask me. He goes, I told Eldrick and Derek the other day, these guys that work there. He goes, these 2 black dudes that we used to work with, and they were just cool guys. Derek was from Louisiana. And he was funny. He was always making me laugh. And just all the time, we were always just cutting up, talking shit. And the manager would be like, y'all don't be standing around, hanging around. Y'all scaring people. And our boss was this black dude named Dole. And Dole was like, y'all don't be standing around. He called me the N-word all the time too. He called me that. He's like, y'all need to go over to y'all N-words is crazy. Go. Why are you always over here talking to these people? He's like, you know, you're the blackest white man I ever met. He always told me, he says, I had a bad temper like a black man. He was always
amazing.
And so he was always messing with me, man. And he was a nice guy, whatever. And he wasn't interested in anything of these guys. They didn't care. But that Eldrick guy, he says, you're all into that stuff. And I was reading a book at that time. It was Charles Berlitz's Bermuda Triangle, right? And it was the second time I had read it, and I was on break. And they make you take these hour-long breaks, which is boring as hell. And so it just stretches your shift out. You know how that's a little trick they do.
Yeah.
So I was in there, and I was in the break room, and I had that book, and I was reading. He's like, he's always had dip in his mouth, and they were always telling him to take it out because he was always doing it in front of the customer.
Yeah.
And he comes in there, and he says, you're always reading them books, man. What'd you get out of that, man? There's some weird stuff in there in them books. And I was talking to him. I said, well, this one here, I've read it before, and I'm interested because I think it's time slips and there's some sort of weird, you know, I was explaining it to him. He starts like pretending to nod off. And I said, okay, that's fine. He said, you need to go talk to old boy over there. You know, he's weird like you. He found something. That's how it happened. So I go and I talked to this guy, and we sat down and we had a sandwich, which at the casino is like half your paycheck. So I bought him a sandwich, and we sitting there, and he's eating, and he's just, can't thank you enough, man. I live paycheck to paycheck. You know, he goes, and ever since I found this stuff, it's made my life hell. And yeah, I didn't know to believe him or not. I was just sitting there, and I was like, going like, is this guy telling the truth? I don't know. And sure enough, he tells me that they told him. They said, what is this junk worth to you? He said, well, I don't know. I found it on a golf course. They said, well, we'll give you $100 for it. $100 back in 96, whatever, then maybe, you might take it. It's just, it's some junk, right? He said, well, what would you want with that? If it's just junk, what do you want? Why would you give me $100 for this junk?
Yeah.
And this guy said, well, why do you want it so bad? He said, well, it's mine. I found it. He goes, well, you found it. It belongs to somebody. And so then he gets a knock on the door. Now get this, when these guys knock on the door, they're dressed in black. Well, you can do the math. I don't even have to tell you. And they're not wearing fedoras or anything like that. They're just bald-headed black sunglasses, black, real light-skinned guys. But he said through the glasses on the side of them, they looked Asian. That's what he said. And they talked like this, and they were like very deliberate. Like it was like they were pretending to be human.
Mm-hmm.
We are two humans. Can I use your functional restroom? I need to take a human shit. Like that. They talk like that.
We come in peace.
We come in peace.
We are here to help.
And so they're just like, and so one of them goes into the kitchen and asks for something to drink. And he gives him, he says, I got water and I got milk. And so he goes, I want water. And so he brings him milk. The smart kid. He just wanted to see what this guy's reaction was. The guy was looking at it and saying, this water is cloudy. He doesn't register that it's milk. It's a weird thing, right? So this is what the guy told me. About halfway through this, Eldrick came up and sat down with us, and he's listening to this, and he starts getting kind of intrigued too. And he says, "Tell him about what happened to you." And he says, "Okay." So I was driving back to my job at the golf course, and this black SUV came and ran me off the road.
Really?
He said that they didn't jump out and do nothing dramatic. They drove by him, and they were just doing like this with their fingers, kind of like, and this happened on the way back. And he said he'd had enough of this. And so he moved, and he just gave up. He didn't try to get the thing back or anything. Well, about 2 weeks into his stay in Las Vegas, he gets a call in the middle of the night, and it was like 2 a.m. He's like, who the hell's calling me at 2 a.m? We had caller ID back then. It was this little box, and it had the little name on there, Bubblish Fisheye, whoever, Fontaine is calling you.
Yeah.
And so he looks on there, and it's all like these pound signs, which is so weird. Like I never heard of that, And he answers it, and there's like this, and it sounds like a robot. And the guy says, "You need to report to the nearest federal facility." Blah blah blah. Basically telling him to turn himself in to the federal government. And he was like, "The hell I am. I'm not. I don't know what is this."
Get right on that.
So he didn't. But he was able to pass the county and state clearances to become a security guard in the state of Nevada. But, it's a weird thing. And he says, so now he goes, but now I'm moving. And I said, where are you going? And he told me, well, I'm going to go to Nebraska and work on a farm for a while. And then I'm going to go from there. I'm going to try to get to the East Coast. And then I'm going to go leave the country. So that was years ago. I don't know if what happened to him, is real or made up, or he had a really good story that he had memorized. I mean, all kinds of things could be happening with this guy. You don't know. I mean, all you can do is just take his word for it. And I'm just sitting there at this casino eating a sandwich and just going, wow, that's, and I was writing it down as best I could. I didn't have a tape recorder with me.
Mm-hmm.
And Eldrick just goes, well, that's some bullshit. And he just got up and walked off. And I just, and the guy was like, you think it's bullshit? He goes, no, I'm not talking about your stuff. I'm thinking what these people do to you. It's bullshit, the people that run the country. And I looked at Eldrick, I said, and let me guess, a bunch of white people in it. And he says, yeah. I said, that's the problem right there. You think it's black and white. It's not black and white. That's not who it is. And then people say, well, it's easy for you to say you're a white skinny guy, but I'm not. I'm Hispanic, white, whatever. As you can see, Speedy Gonzalez on my shirt. Somebody told me it was racist, so I figured I'd better try it.
Don't knock it till you try.
Yeah, don't knock it till you try it. Look, Dick Richards is tired. Let's let him go. You want to go home? Oh, you're
no, I'm shaking my head at the nonsense.
You're in jail, that little bitty cell you have there.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Freddie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I didn't mean to talk ad nauseum. I just wanted to throw that out there. But it's weird because the point is, and let me bring Willard on here. Willard, just hold on, mute your mic for just a minute. So what's weird about it, though, is that this guy had a story that was, and it involved this weird element. I mean, it's something that we don't know, that we can't. But whoever was involved in that, they wanted it pretty bad. So obviously, it was some kind of an element that we don't know, that doesn't exist in our world, that that's not officially recognized. So what do you think about this, Freddie, with the red mercury? You think that this is something that's an element that hasn't been discovered and that these people use it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I
Yeah.
mean, why would they tell us things that could help defeat them?
Absolutely. But, and there again, too, not necessarily to help them defeat them, but if it's something that they're using, you could cut the supply to it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a way to but what makes you think that that's what this is?
I just, like I said, I came across it, just thought it was interesting how it was like attracted to gold, but it ran away from garlic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about Bob Lazar. Didn't he have some talk about elements that in the past that just now came out not too long ago?
Well, in Bob Lazar, you have to be real careful because, him and of course, Corey Good and some of these other whistleblower UFO people, they've been, now you got to think these people are being questioned and attacked. The shadow government's going to do and say what they're going to do.
True.
But they have been taken to task, and a lot of people have said, well, these people don't know what they're talking about. They're not really legit. In particular, Corey, with his story about the avian blues and all that. It's a real deep, wide crevice there. It's not a rabbit hole. It's a crack in the earth to fall into. And I've read all about it, and I have, like I said, my memory is pretty good, so I can kind of get into it.
Stephen Greer looks like a lizard person in a human mask.
There's a lot of them that look like that. So does George Bush. But yeah, you look at him and look at Clinton, both of them, they look like, if they took their masks off, they'd be like twinsies. We fooled you. But I think that then somebody said Stephen Greer controlled opposition. Yeah, but is Bob Lazar? Now, is Bob Lazar to be trusted? Is it true what he says?
Anything mainstream is. It's all a lie.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Could it be a psyop being played on a psyop? You know what I'm saying?
True.
So, you know what I mean? Like they turn the screws on each other in a pretend game to make you keep guessing.
Like an onion with 100 layers.
That's right. Exactly. And then you go down into the end. And once you get to the end, then you find the truth, But the truth is this: we live within worlds, within worlds, within worlds. Imagine there's a backyard to somebody's abandoned house. And your job, you're being tasked with going and cleaning up that backyard. That backyard has sat there untouched for months, let's say even years. There's a whole ecosystem, a whole world happening in that backyard. And then you come along and destroy it. You are the god of death.
Very true.
You wipe out all of that life. With a weed whacker. You have literally changed an entire ecosystem, an entire world.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
you can take it further and further and further down into the microverse, into the quantum realm. People don't understand what that word means. They think it's just another word for another world. No, quantum is small. And it's worlds within worlds within worlds. And it's how much you can comprehend. Really, intelligence is the ability to learn. That's what it is.
Very true.
John's ability to what do you want to zoom in on Dick Richards for? Because he's such a weird looking guy. Or what?
Get him gone.
You could.
I'm flattered.
You ever seen that show Solar Opposites? The pupa, whatever.
Oh,
that's who Dick Richards reminds me of. He just Hulu. That's pupa right there. So, Fred, did you have anything else you wanted to say or talk about? What you got going on? And then we'll go on to Willard.
Well, it just kind of made me think, is our periodic table actually complete? And is there more stuff out there that we don't know about?
I don't think it's complete, and I'm positive that there's more.
Oh, yeah.
They have now figured out a way to turn mercury into gold. Now, the upside downside, the Japanese are very smart people. In fact, they're some of the smartest people on earth. They're the smartest IQ-wise of all the Asians. Asians are really smart. Guess who was the smartest of all the Europeans? The Germans.
Oh, by far.
Yeah. And funny that those two were the bad guys, so they had to be destroyed. Kind of makes you wonder. But here's the thing, the Japanese had figured out a way to do this, but they made sure that they told, because the powers that be, they're like, well, yeah, but it takes too much energy for us to do this, so it's not a feasible thing, right? But who's going to go in and question it? Are you going to have a team go in there and go, let's look and see if that's really the case? The
Didn't they
smartest
just turn-
people on the planet are telling you that they can't really do it.
Didn't they just turn lead to gold as well?
No, I didn't hear about that. That would be a stretch, but mercury, yeah. But they said that it's not cost effective. Well, what does it really matter when gold is pretty much the standard of wealth on Earth? And if that is what the Anunnaki were looking for, and they bred us to hunt for it like truffle pigs, which is how we named our pig truffles.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't taught him how to sniff for gold yet, but I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
We're getting there.
We're using carrots and some peas.
We're going to strike it rich with it.
We're going to strike it rich. We're going to be millionaires.
Hell yeah.
Millionaires.
Use your rings and chains instead.
I was telling Anthony, like, well, imagine if I won the lottery. I would, if it was a mega, like that $1 billion Powerball, that's $1 billion. It's not $1 billion. It'll be 40% they'll take out of there.
Yeah.
So you'll have, but it's 1.1. So you'll be like $600-700 million. You could take that money. I already have a plan how I could become a billionaire and then a multi-billionaire. And then you could change the face of social media. You could do it. You could literally do it. Imagine what you could do if you really, because so many people don't have the capital or the mindset to do it. And when they do get the capital, they want peace. They don't want to go to war and just keep fighting like some samurai, but not me. I'd be like first in line. I'd be like, dude, PRT would just be the next level, and knowledge would be the ultimate goal, because that's what Christ tells me to do.
They would hit your house with a blue titanium sapphire diode space laser before they ever let you do that.
That's why you have a bunch of different houses and you keep moving around like Saddam Hussein.
Ooh, you figured it out.
You have a team of people.
Just told them, no, dude. You just told them.
Become very, very, very friendly with a lot of famous people's descendants, and then they won't kill you. Be in politics, but don't be in politics. That's how you do it. Because who is the one that's pulling the strings? It ain't the one that's out there talking.
Yeah.
It's the ones that sponsor them. But it doesn't matter because you're never going to win the lottery, right? It's a pipe dream. So, anyways, Freddie, Fred is actually a really good artist, and he's helped us with a new logo, which we're going to start using, Freddie, on a shirt. We're going to put that on there.
Hey,
we're going to try and use it. Yeah.
Once you put it on a shirt, could you sign it and tell, like, thank you, Freddie, for the design?
Yeah.
So and send it to me?
Absolutely, dude. We'll give you full credit for that. And, it's just going to be something. We're not going to sell them. We're just going to give them away. It's just going to be a freebie,
Cool.
But it's going to be something it's a really cool look. I like that design. And I think it would be our third logo on there.
Cool.
But we're probably just going to give them away. I don't really have any use for trying to sell. You're not going to get rich selling t-shirts.
No. It's
I
more
told somebody that the other day.
me,
they were real disheartened about it. I said, you're not going to make a lot of money selling shirts.
It's more about if someone asked me my art, what have you done that's got published or got used, I could show them one of the things I've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's for
all.
sure.
That's all.
You made 3 or 4 of those. There's a couple of them, those designs I'd like to use. We're going to use those for the Patreon giveaways. Folks, if you haven't joined the Patreon, join, because tomorrow is D-Day. That's when we do the launch of the episode that's the paywall. And it's going to be about the Xian, the Immortals. And it's a very, very wild story.
It's a really interesting one.
Very interesting. So Willard, what do you have for us?
Use all the designs you want to.
I appreciate it, Freddie.
You're muted, Willard.
Yeah, you're muted. There you go. There's feedback.
Okay. You ever heard of the Greys?
Yeah.
You ever heard of the Greys? Okay.
The aliens or the Confederates?
I've been having Alien, not Confederates.
Turn.
I've been having contact in my living
Turn the
room.
show off, Willard. Turn the show off because it's feedback and big time.
Yeah, you have to turn the volume down on your speaker.
Okay,
because
how
you're getting feedback.
Okay. Now what? I'm gonna message you. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, I can hear you.
Last year in my living room where the lights don't work out at all because this is old house, somehow I can't explain it, but it just happened. It started flickering. I'm like, what's going on here? And I went outside. It wasn't raining. No light. Okay, that's impossible. I come back inside. Thought it was over. Right. 10 minutes later, it happened again. I'm like, okay, something's in this house. So I started walking around, and I swear to you, I started getting Morse code from a stove that don't work anymore, which I got rid of a long time ago. And I'm going like, wait a minute, who's trying to talk to me? So I went to my telephone, and you know how they say sometimes supernatural can telepathically talk in servers like that, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow or another, Grok, who can't speak lick of English, but somehow if you telepathically talk to your mind, you can on a server. He told me that if I go to the stove, I can hear him going slow, beat word for word. And I said, okay, I'll do that. So I went in there, and this guy was telling me languages I don't even know. We're talking about maybe pre-Jesus. And I said, wait a minute.
That's a lot of languages.
I know the word Jesus. Yeah, but I tell him at the very beginning of humanity, at the time of the Big Bang. And this guy was telling me that he was from Andromeda.
Okay.
And that they had countless spaceships. You know how in Star Trek you can cover your spaceship invisible from radar? Okay. He was saying that Dulce Air Force Base, Area 51, have a secret space program, which everybody knows they do. And it's been going since 2002. And apparently, this guy was exchanging people, kidnapping for 15 minutes and bringing them back. They have an agreement with the U.S. government to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he told me. He said that in exchange for technology, people who are supposed to be abducted are taken, whether they want to or not. And apparently, he told me that when I was born, I almost died at birth, right? And he told me things that he should not know. And he said that somehow or another, I was reincarnated. Not me in person, but somebody. I can't explain this, but you know how when a person dies in a past life, and somehow or another, when a person has a near-death experience, they're reincarnated that body, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened at my birth. And he said that my past life, not me, keyword, was a god in another dimension. I said, wait a minute. If I'm a god in another dimension, why did my family tell me this? Because apparently they didn't know. And apparently that guy's name is Mog. He created the God codes. And I started digging and saying, wait a minute, God codes? I never heard about this. And so I started looking on YouTube for God codes, and I finally said, wait a minute, he ain't lying. So apparently this God works for the God guy up there. And apparently he erased his memories at my birth. So basically I have no memories of this guy. But apparently in my dreams, since birth, occasionally I would stand in front of Earth, in front of blue and red flames, going to Mars. Then I've had eclipse dreams over and over. And I'm like, what's going on here? So I started going in my dreams like, okay, I get it. I'm Mog in dreamland, whatever. What's going on here? What's the message? And he said that I supposedly have a destiny or something or whatever. I don't know what it is.
Everybody does.
I've been trying to get a hold of a psychic, and I've been trying to get a hold of a psychic, and that's why I called you, because I figured, you got experience on this more than I do. So I'm asking
psychic.
you, what are the odds? What are the odds of having a Twilight deja vu experience where two things happen that you know damn well, excuse my French, it's impossible unethical, but yet nowadays unethical is now ethical, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, because
And I'm talking about standing in your kitchen window right by it. All of a sudden, for whatever reason, you're looking outside the window and you're seeing a metamorphosed demon, shapeshifter, clear as day at nighttime, posing as either George Bush or Senior or whoever. And for whatever reason, they shoot my spirit. Didn't kill me, but they just shot my spirit. So I walk into the bathroom thinking I'm dead or something. And I walk in there, and you ever see Mirrors, the movie with Keith Sutherland, where he looks in the mirror and he sees things?
No.
Okay, well, long story short, it's called astral trap. Certain mirrors on this planet, if you look into them, they take you to the astral plane, but trap you there. And I looked it up, and apparently, whatever's going on, not in this life, okay, but in the veil, past the veil, where we can't see, it's a spiritual warfare. And I've been seeing that in my dreams, like, man, this is crazy, because I'm telling you, a Paranormal and Dick Richards and Cooper Young, I didn't believe half the stuff that everyone's saying, but then now I do, because I've seen things that I can't explain. I'm talking about, for one, in my yard, a couple of months ago, I had a deja vu Twilight Zone experience, double of everything. I saw for 3 seconds, I saw the Matrix, literally, through my own eyes. And I can't explain it, can't prove it, but I know I saw it. And it was like glass shattering. You know how whenever someone has that come to Jesus moment, whenever you're seeing something you can't believe, but then also like, wait a minute, this is real? And so that's when you realize you're in the Matrix. And for whatever reason, I was shown that for 3 seconds. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I ran to the house, and that same night, once again, I had this crazy ass, I'm sorry, cousin, but crazy heck dream where I'm standing in front of God. I swear to you, I'm not lying on this. And it's a past life, not my life now, but past life. And somehow or another, in front of me is this golden throne. Okay, you see God sitting there. You can't see his face because humans can't see it. But in a past life, my past life was in heaven somehow. And I think he was a general or something. And he's being called Hell's General. Not because he's just Satan like that, but just his nickname, whatever. And every time I kept saying, I'm not this guy, I'm turning around, having a hard time comprehending. I'm seeing Odin, Zeus. I'm seeing people that the Bible says don't exist, but yet they're bowing to God. I'm going, wait a minute.
Well,
if you're real,
hold on.
That means you're a brother, right?
Okay, you just said that the Bible says they don't exist. The Bible doesn't say that they don't exist. Now, there's two different schools of thought here. Actually, there's multiple, but two that are the main trains.
There's supposed to be a divine council at one time.
Okay, so one of them is that they are fallen angels or archons, and the other one is that they are the mighty men of renown, which would have been the children of the You got to kill the.
All I'm saying is that these.
Okay, I can't.
Hey, Willard, we're getting some feedback. Like every time we speak, it's playing through your speakers.
That's my fan.
And echoing into your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Codex says the Nephilim. Exactly. What's up, Bride Ross? How are you doing? And also, I want to say hi to Chris Garitano, who was on. Chris or Rye, you can jump on if you'd like. If you'd like to jump on, you got a real bad echo, Willard. If you don't, okay, hold on. If I cannot, that's going to really bug people. I'm not going to be able to have you on if you don't.
Can you hear me now better?
No.
Hear me now better?
Well, so we can hear you, Willard, but every time we speak, our voices are playing through the speaker that you're playing the show through. So what you have to do is turn that down, or maybe if you have some headphones.
Willard, try to get your audio fixed. Turn it off, and I'll bring you back on. That's all we can do.
Isn't Mog a Canaanite or Babylonian deity?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mog, he was a king. He was a Canaanite king, also said to be a giant, and he was destroyed by the Israelites.
Yeah.
He saw his own death. There's actually a book of Mog. I mean, you know, and then of course there's the Book of Giants. How's it going, Scott Baker? Welcome to the show.
How are you? How's it going?
Okay, I don't. Is that you, Cooper? Are you doing that too?
No, I don't know. I just unmuted, so just checking.
Sounds like it's okay.
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 Yeah.
Let me see if Willard does. Hold on one second, Willard. Are you still? You're still kind of feedbacking?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah. You got to turn the show off.
Can someone tell me what the God code is? Turn the.
Somebody what?
Okay, I'll turn it off. I was going to ask, can someone tell me what the God codes are?
What the God codes are?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
apparently in that dream I was told that.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. There's a bad delay there. And I can't sacrifice everybody's Willard. I don't know what to tell you. It's bad.
Yeah, every time we speak, we're getting an echo back into your microphone.
It's bouncing
And
back.
it's really distracting for the people who are watching the show.
What he was saying about those invisible UFOs being everywhere all the time, they absolutely are.
That's the truth.
They're above every city. They're above every town. They're always watching. You can see them through dye sign. And if you have that stain, if you can actually look up the chemical composition, if you have a chemistry lab, you can make it for yourself. And once you look through it,
I had a chemistry lab when I was a kid.
you need a chemistry lab to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But when Rowdy Roddy Piper came out and said They Live is a documentary, he was on a live 2 weeks later. And that's no coincidence.
It wasn't 2 weeks later. He said it a
wasn't?
long time before. Yeah, it was a couple years. But
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing interesting about that. I always thought it was a documentary. I mean,
It is.
one time when we were doing a job site, and it is a very violent, aggressive place. It's one of two that I would like to get rid of, but they're connected to a bunch of other ones, so they're like dominoes. So you have to take the good with the bad. We had just finished butting heads with some vibrant dreamers and told them, to get out of the pool. And then there was Chupilemiverga and Comachingas and all those other crap that they were talking. And of course, that's, and so we got into it in another language. And I was just sitting there looking up, and I'm like, I'm getting too old for this job. And I look up and I see what looks like a city in the sky. 49 years of my life at that point. I was 49 back in June, and I'll never forget it. And I told my wife, and she was like, I've seen this before. Multiple people that I know in this field have seen this. I had never seen this before, but it just that moment, I just had this emotional surge of like exhaustion, and just kind of breathed out, and I looked up, and there it was. And I've talked about it from the show. I believe it was on a Monday, but it was like right there above the interstate, not interstate, but the highway.
They see them over China all the time.
Yeah. And so there is a city, and it kind of ties in what we were talking about tomorrow with the Xi'an. And the Xi'an, the place where they dwell is called the Xianjiang. And it is in the Kulan Mountains, and it is the Tibetan Ridge. And there's a bunch of names and stuff. But
Shangri-La.
Well, that's a different place. That's central China. This is Western China, and it's very sparsely populated. It's the city in the sky, but that's where they dwell. It's the dwelling place of the gods. Now, what Willard was saying was actually very interesting, but he was echoing really bad, and he was kind of frantic. But not insulting you, Willard. Just you need to get your mic fixed or whatever. But what he's talking about, it does. People are going to knee jerk and say, "Well, that's weird," because he's not explaining it exactly like like he's not a But what he's talking about is he was a god in another realm. We could have all been gods in another realm. That doesn't mean you are the god, the big G. Because, like I said before, you could have an ant farm, and you could take that ant farm and shake it, and you're a god. That doesn't make you a good god. That doesn't make you anything but a butthole. But to the beings there that are being jostled around,
from
something
their perspective,
supernatural is happening.
Yeah.
That so I mean, we've all been, the angel of death. If you killed a spider in your house, you had the power of life and death. Doesn't make you anything special. What does it benefit a god to step on an ant?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's all a matter of perspective, and so the next time you're driving down the highway, imagine an anthill right there inside the concrete curb, you know, and there's like all these highways going above you and next to you and everywhere. And the ants are just there living in that ground right there that we have allotted them, that we didn't cover up with cement. And they have no awareness of you. Like they know that there is something there, but they don't know what it is, and they don't care. It's not going to matter to them. Imagine now we're the ants. These beings are up there. We're not even aware of our place in this world, much less the universe, much less what these beings are, who they're, or what their goal is. And we were talking about this last night about being a couple and being evenly yoked and having this social awareness of, how do you say it? Like, you need to be with someone who can help you because your spirit is incomplete, but you don't depend on that, but that person can help you.
Yep.
And it can stop the abductions and other things because that person is your rock to lean on. God gives you them like a staff. That's what the marriage was supposed to be.
Exactly.
It has become like this weird, diluted, convoluted competition. There's not supposed to be a competition, nay, an arms race between men and women. That's not supposed to happen. This was never supposed to be the way it is, and these beings have had a field day with throwing salt into our eyes, and everybody's competing. You're not supposed to do that. I had a guy that I interviewed the other day, and he says, my wife is the breadwinner. He goes, don't judge me. And I'm like, why would I judge you? Are you a lazy ass? Do you not work because you don't want to work? Or are you raising your children to have fundamental values? He says, I'm the latter. I'm raising my children. Good. It doesn't, what do I care? I'm not judging you for that. As long as that's the case. And if she needs your help, you help her. There's no judgment here. I'm not, he's just like, well, it's not a traditional, what do I care? That's you.
It's your business.
As long as the children aren't dressing in drag and thinking that they're a different gender and they're 4 years old, which I don't care what anybody says. I don't agree with that shit. How is a 4-year-old supposed to know their place in the world? We're the same way. Even as adults, we're grown-ups, but we don't know our place in this world, and we don't live long enough to even figure it out. But it doesn't have to be that way. You know why it's that way? Because we don't look for one thing that's very, very important. Once you found it, you need it, and that's knowledge. Because the correct knowledge will lead you to God. All you have to realize is that you know nothing. That's what I did. I'd read 1,000 books by the time I was a 19-year-old, and not literally, but probably. But I realized when I was a young man, I don't know anything. First time I walked into a dojo and I got the hell beat out of me. I thought I was a tough son of a bitch, and this guy just beat the shit out of me. And then he had the underlings beat the shit out of me every day until I figured out who I was. I got choked out by a little blonde-haired guy named Rick.
Yeah.
He choked me out like 3 or 4 times. And then I'm like, and the guy, Rodney, the guy that was coaching, he says, you know what you're doing? You're putting your head into the noose. Why are you doing that? What is that? You're trying to shoot and you're missing. And he's like, because I tell you 100 times, you don't listen. He's like, in 4 weeks, if you listen, you could beat my ass. And he was right. But it takes shutting yourself down, saying, okay, I don't know anything. Let me learn. Once you learn, then you become a tool. You become a weapon. You become a soldier. But you have to be broken down. And so many people are so filled with the number one sin, and I call it the number one sin. I think it's pride. Pride is what made Lucifer fall. If it could make him fall. Lucifer is a very powerful being. Michael. Even Michael was like, may the Lord God rebuke you, like him deal with you. Because Lucifer was still he's a bad dude. I mean, but if pride was his Achilles heel, imagine what it would do to you. This guy thought he was God because of pride. Pride is a horrible, horrible thing. And of course, this LBGBD barbecue, whatever it is, they're all about their pride, pushing it in your face. If you're leading off with pride, I don't think that you really know what that word is.
Sure.
Because it's a sin, and you're proud of it.
And it comes before the fall as well.
It does become before the fall. And that's what happened to the Watchers. Now, the Watchers, they were these huge giants. But what were they doing? They were down on their knees talking to Enoch, who was this big to them, and begging him for help.
Yep.
Yeah. It's imagine a bald eagle going down to a grasshopper and saying, "Can you help me? I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble." And the grasshoppers
Bawling their eyes out.
Yeah, bawling their eyes out. I'll do what I can, but I mean, I can't make any promises. And he tried. Now, there's some people, and I'm not saying I'm one of them, let's not get it twisted, but they believe that Jesus was perfected over lifetimes, that he was literally, Moses, Joseph, Enoch, and Elijah. And that's why he was taken up. And then he was perfected after that. He was Metatron, and then he became Christ. He came down, and Jesus was the Word made flesh. Now, I'm not one of those people that says I believe that.
That's nonsense.
But that's what, guess who said that, though? You'd be shocked when I tell you.
Who?
Edgar Casey.
Oh, yeah.
The sleeping prophet. Who
I don't believe whatever.
Pretty damn accurate on a lot of things.
Except that.
Well, that's your opinion. I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't know. But I don't doubt anything until I can say I can prove that it is not what happened. Jesus was a man, though, and he was perfected. Now, there are different schools of thought. Some people worship him as God, and some people say that's not correct. He's the Son of God, and he never says he's God. I think it was in the best interest post-Council of Nicaea for them to say, hey, he's God, because let's just wrap it all up. Because if you don't have someone to worship, it's hard to explain to people how the Trinity works. How are you going to tell these ancient people, hey, there's this guy we're going to follow. Yeah, he's not really God. He's sort of like God. He's the Son of God. But, so they just say, he's God. Worship him. That'll solve a lot of problems. Pay your taxes. That's what they did. That's what Constantine did. Can you blame him if he's running an empire? Yeah, no, I don't know. It's probably not going to work. Especially when you have all these pagans, you have 400 gods. And you're asking them to throw them all away and trust in one thing. And this guy, he's not really totally God. He's just the Son of God. You see my point? Mm-hmm. So that's, in a nutshell. But if you stop and you break it all down and you look at it from a cosmic standpoint, there is a lot going on here that we cannot comprehend because we're ants. Simple as that.
That's basically what Geordie Rose, the guy that's bringing all the Lovecraftian old ones over, all of the ancient deities through his quantum computing. He said that we're just a bunch of ants and that they're such big super intelligences that we can't even comprehend what they are, and that they don't care about us one little bit.
They're don't
have their will. Yeah.
And it's not just Geordie Rose. If you stop and look at this shooter, this last guy that was the tranny that shot a bunch of kids, he was the Order of Nine Angles, a very dangerous organization. From what I know, to be indoctrinated, to be initiated into it, you have to kill someone. So, and their whole goal is the same. It's this Cthulhu type destruction. Let's bring over these old gods.
Yeah.
And supposedly there is a story, a legend that says that two of the archons actually imprisoned Lucifer in this what do you call it? A maze. They trapped him like hundreds of years. And their goal was to bring across these ancient ones. Mm-hmm. Now, the scary thing about that is you would have to trap this evil being, which a lot of people believe he's the evil incarnate, to be able to do this. Okay, but first we have to get rid of this other guy who's real powerful, because he's not going to allow it. Why would he not allow it? Because if that happens, then there's going to be some real problems.
Just real quick, we're getting some kind of muffled feedback or something. I don't know who it's coming from, but guys, if you're not speaking, if you could mute your mic, please. It's really distracting for the listeners. We're getting a lot of complaints about it, so please do that.
Scott. It's good now, though.
Okay. Yeah, now it's good. Scott's taking credit for that. Scott's doing. And if you don't know Scott Baker, Scott's been on Abe's show at night multiple times. He's almost like a de facto co-host, I guess, on there. So Cooper, what do you have for us?
Oh, I was just getting really into what you were talking about, but
Nice hat.
yeah, I always learn something new on your show. Kind of out of my depth there, but I tuned in because I guess you started off with the McDonald's thing and the corporate thing, and then you kind of talked about the Inception psyop a little bit, psyops within psyops. But I mean, I guess I just I don't know. I'm curious how these corporations are so heavily involved with it, you know, because you were saying like everything's a psyop, and I think it's just really weird how a lot of these corporations, I mean, we feel like there's all this oversight, right? Like FDA and stuff like that. And it makes me wonder how they get away with that type of stuff, because they're definitely disclosing it in commercials like that.
It's
right?
money.
Yeah, they're captured they're captured entities, man.
I can explain something to you, but Dick, you go ahead, finish.
I was going to say, Mr. Gates is one of the biggest contributors to all of them: the WHO, the CDC, the FDA, and it, like Wolf said, it's money. It's who pays the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rule.
Yeah, but money is not the main object. It's the main object is the agenda. Now they all have enough money that they can rule the world. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's assets. And assets can be anything. Do you know what the most valuable asset is? And I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock a lot of people, but some of you here at Paranormal Roundtable are going to be like, okay, I know this is just a review. But what do you think the most valuable asset to anyone is?
Time.
I would say
time
labor.
Is a currency. Labor, yeah, that's land. A lot of people are saying land. You know what it is? Corruption of innocence.
Yeah, people's energy. People's energy.
Yeah. But where is the most valuable energy? A source of something that can find oil. You know, because I'm here in Texas and we produce 40% of the oil here in this country. I can tell you this. I know a lot of oil people. My cousin's big in the oil business. And he told me one time, he talks like this. He really does. I have to, sometimes my accent comes out, and when I talk normal, I sound like this. That's actually how I talk. This is me not, but then I try to correct it because a lot of people don't want to hear somebody talking like that. So my dad told me when I was young, he says, we're the only ones in the family that don't talk like that. And I said, why do you, he said, because if you want to be a man of enterprise and people be taken seriously, you don't walk in there and go, hey, I want a job. You just don't do it. But in Texas, you know, if you're into that kind of business, you can do it. Look at Jerry Jones, dumbass. Yeah. But my cousin told me, he says, I wish I had a rock hound that would just sniff out oil. Wish I could just make him go and find it. And he goes, if they had one of them dogs, I could tell you, man, I'd write the biggest check you'd ever seen. Yeah, he's right. But what if you had something on your side that could find you energy? Stupidly, we believe in the lie that energy is something that you just can't find out of the thin air, which you really can. But there are beings that if you pray to them and you worship them and you crawl around and prostrate yourself to them and put yourself below them, even though God says that they're below you, and you flip the script, which is basically slapping God and saying, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and be stupid. Imagine your children walking away to go join a gang because that's their dad now. People that are the trash pits of the earth, and they're walking around calling them master. That is what these people do. They go and they find a God that's other than the one true God, because the one true God asks you to do things that are hard. He asks you to follow a straight and narrow path to him, to purify you so that you'll come back to him, because you are a part of him. You belong to him. You are a part of God. But you need to be purified to come back. He gives you free will. And kind of like the First Amendment, it is your right to say what you're going to say and do what you're going to do. God is your father. He's going to wait for you to do what's right, be it the prodigal son or whatever. These people that have all this power and how they get away with all of this enchanting and glamoring that they do, they find gods, false gods that are very close to us in this realm, on this earth, in the fourth density. Some people call them aliens, others call them demons, just familiar. Pick a name, it doesn't matter. That's what they are. And they worship these gods and they sacrifice to them blood, whether it be from animals or humans. And they get power from that. They get energy, and that energy gives them power. That power they use to control us. They get the currency of the earth, which is time, labor, and this make-believe money, which doesn't really exist. And that's how they do it. And yes, John, that's Maddox there. He says principalities. These are the principalities of the world. Every region of the earth has them.
Yep.
And if you sacrifice to the right ones, then they'll give you the power that you crave. Here is the problem with that. And I don't care what anybody says. They're not all together like the Army, Navy, Air Force. That's not, no.
That goes against the very nature
The
of
very
evil.
nature of evil is that they are separate. They are gangs. And here's what happens. Your neighborhood, listen to what I'm going to tell you. This is very, very important, folks. Your neighborhood. If I walk outside of here, there is a gang that runs this area right here. Now, if I go and I join blank, blank posse and they say, hey, you're an initiate now. You're going to be protected by us. You can roam around here. You can sell dope. You can do this. You can do that. There's a catch. Not only do you have to give us a lot of stuff, you're going to have to be careful because there's a lot of other gangs. They don't like us. And when they catch you, they're going to peel your skin off. This happens a lot. People think that they worship Satan. No, Satan is a title for a race of beings known as the Shaitan or Shaitan. Welcome, Daniel, to the podcast. What's up, Daniel Hamilton? We were actually messaging earlier today.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. So what happens? You join a gang. The next gang over, the 14th Street posse, don't like your blank, blank posse. So they cap you. And that's the end of it. But they don't just kill you. They take you, they torture you, and then they put a tire on you and burn you up and do all kinds of horrible things. And then you go to hell. That's your reward. What people don't understand is some of these really, really rich, powerful people. I'm not even going to say it. There was a guy in Singapore that got thrown through a 32nd floor window. One of the most richest, powerful people in that city. Still to this day is an unsolved case. I'm not going to go too far into it. It's even hard to find. You could probably find it. But a lot of people say that there was this winged creature that came up out of there.
Wow.
And dropped him. This guy was like a banker. He was and he was involved in a lot of heavy duty stuff. What do you think was going on there? You think it was a spiritual hit? Period, just boom, blank, blank. No, what I think was going on and what has gone on with these entities and these beings is that you get up to a certain point, Black Cube Society or whatever it is, you have to pay the piper. And what ends up happening a lot of times is when that blood is come to collect, your homeboys, your demon homeboys, they're like, we're done with you. We don't need you. Once they stop cutting for you, well, you're just floating in the ocean and anything can come up and be a predator and eat you. You don't have any protection. And any one of these beings can take you and just decapitate you. And that often happens. Because
Of
you're
course,
no more
we hear
use.
about people summoning things to attack their enemies too, and we know the corporate world's very competitive as well.
Mhm. If you don't think that we're in the middle of a war zone, think again. If you don't think that these entities fight each other, these corporations all bow down to these satanic entities. One thing you need to realize and you need to learn, folks, is that it is not one bad guy at the top structuring all of this. No. The lesson to be learned about Lucifer being put into the maze and trapped by two other archons is that this is how they are. This is how they operate. They all have their own little fiefdoms. One of them will begrudgingly give the help or submit to another one that's more powerful, that has more soldiers for the time being. It's, temporary. Kind of like if you watch that movie Flash Gordon and he says, "Do you take her to be your wife?" He goes, "For the moment, yes." Nothing's permanent. Let's see how it works. And then maybe I won't blast her into space, but probably will.
They only have relationships out of convenience.
It's a convenient thing, or you have to thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always plotting and scheming to claw their way up to the top. You don't have that in God's kingdom. God's kingdom is loyalty to him and him alone. That's it. When the angels come to you, they say, "I am an angel of the Lord. I'm doing the Lord's bidding." When the devils come to you, they're just doing their own bidding, or they're answering to somebody else begrudgingly, because evil in and of itself does not have loyalty. It doesn't understand loyalty. Loyalty takes something very, very important out of the equation, and that's pride. I'm loyal to people, and I cancel my pride. I swallow it, and loyalty to that person. Sometimes you have to do that. Evil cannot do that. Evil is of sin. It's born of sin, and it is sin, and it's going to do what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Pride is always there at the root of it. They don't like other entities being more powerful than them. I read a book, and it's called The Warlock and the Sea, or something like that. I've talked about it before. It's very interesting. The guy's from Africa, and when he was a child, his dad, being a powerful warlock from the Ivory Coast, he took him under the ocean, and he met Mammon, who is the god of wealth. And he was in a very angry, whiny voice complaining about Zeus and that people who worshiped Zeus, and said that they loved Zeus more than him, and he was going to punish them. This sounds crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some kind of giant demonic entity that's mad about another entity getting more attention. But that's the game, right? Imagine Wendy's being a real entity, and she's mad because you like Ronald more than her. Right?
Yeah.
That is what literally is happening with these corporations. It's the truth.
The point I was trying to drive home too was more of the micro aspect of it, and kind of how the useful idiots are involved in this, right? The people who are doing all of the underwork and are just doing all this stuff for, like you're saying, money, the minor things that don't really matter to the higher ups. But they think that they have control because they're voting for a president, right? They're voting for legislators, whatever that might be, that smoke screen that's installed.
The appearance
They
of
have
it. Yeah.
all these masses so in tune with their agenda, and those masses have no idea. They don't know that they're working for a satanic agenda, basically. And we like to go to sleep at night feeling comfortable in our beds, thinking, "Oh, well, the president that I wanted got elected. He'll take care of this. And the FDA will figure out if there's human meat in product or whatever it is."
Yeah.
And that's not really the case. And that's always kind of the conflict you come in when you discuss conspiracy with people who don't buy into it. They just go, "Well, everyone would have to be involved." But I don't think people realize how, I guess, ignorant people really are. They think the world works a certain way, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I think when people have that facade of the world being a certain way, it helps you sleep at night. You're literally living in a war zone, a spiritual war zone. And in fact, Jesus, talks about Jerusalem. He told his brother James to flee it, for it's full of archons. Why would he say that? Why would Jesus tell people, to steer clear of it? It literally it was and is a nest of vipers, and it's going to be turned around by Christ.
Think of the Burning Man that's happening right now. People think it's this spiritual zone of enlightenment, and I wouldn't be caught dead there.
No.
The whole world has become a Burning Man right now, but it is people right now that are rebelling against this one world government that they're trying to install. I have a hard time with this, and so do a lot of people, but I'm going to tell you something, and it may sound crazy. But the Antichrist is not one person. The Antichrist is a multi-layered thing.
That's
It is a
scriptural.
nation. It's scriptural nation of people. When he says 666, let he who hath understanding, you look at the dimensions of that. There is a particular symbol that is those dimensions.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, and I'm not going to say it on here because I could get myself canceled, but you know, and our tuition just said it. He says, many heads of the Hydra. There it is right there. Thank you for that donation, Baby Gorillas. And just to clarify too, tomorrow night is the Patreon show. If you get your name in green, that's going to be for Thursday. We didn't know what else to do. We had to do something for the members only. I mean, people were buying the membership. We didn't know what to do, so we did it giveaways, which we still do. But then somebody tattled and said, "Well, they're doing giveaways and people are paying for it, the $5 to be entered." We didn't know what to do with it, so we just said, "Okay, well, we'll just give stuff away to any, no matter whether you have green or not." And can we do that? They said, "Yeah." So we decided to do a members only show for YouTube, and then we're going to do a pre-record that's going to come out every Tuesday. That's for the Patreon. Now, the Patreon in and of itself is a good deal because you're already getting a huge swag box full of merch. You get that anyway, but you're just going to get a show now on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good deal.
That is a good deal.
Yeah, and it'll keep the trolls out because they're too cheap and they don't work, and they're not going to go and buy a membership to go watch us. They can just assume what we're saying. But they lie anyway. They're just going to make up something. Did you hear what he said? He said he worships the devil. In fact, he said he worships the super devil.
Yeah.
And he said he's gay. And he only likes women that are just gross and nasty. He said that on the show. I heard every word of it. And then there's some other guy with 2 teeth going, "What, really? He said that? That's a nasty son of a bitch. I ain't going to listen to that guy." That's what happens. That's an actual reenactment.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
there.
but who does he like?
No exaggeration whatsoever.
Yeah, but who does he like? Yeah, let's not get into that.
I don't know. He seems like the kind of guy that likes to eat boudin long.
Keep it in the family.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So Daniel, tell me about yourself. Daniel, you are an interesting guy. You have a show, right?
I do.
Yeah, tell us what your show is, and then we'll go on to the next person. But you got the floor. What do you got going on?
Sure. I'm the host of the Cryptid Podcast. I started it in October of 24. And I just interview people that's had encounters with cryptids, UFOs, aliens, things like that. I started the channel pretty much to be selfish in a way because I had an encounter, or actually a sighting of a Sasquatch when I was 12. My dad and I saw it. And for a long time, I never talked about it and just wanted to know that there are other people out there that had similar encounters as myself, kind of like a validation type thing. And then realized I was actually helping people get rid of that, I guess, burden that they carried for holding it on for so long and not knowing how to act, or not act, but how to bring it out, talk about it. And I've talked with people that's had a sighting for 40 years and, they sat on it and it troubled them. And they sent me an email and said, "Hey, this is what happened. I don't want to be on camera, but this is what happened. Just thank you for giving me this outlet just to talk about it." So,
yeah.
So your encounters, because you had told me earlier when we talked that you had seen UFOs.
Yep, I saw a UFO when I was 17. I've had paranormal experiences since I was the oldest one that I remember. I was around 4 or 5 years old, dealing with paranormal. And then my Sasquatch encounters, I didn't realize that I had previous Sasquatch encounters before my my sighting. But after talking to hundreds of people, watching thousands of videos, listening to other interviews, looking at video evidence, listening to audio evidence, I started realizing that I had heard these things and encountered certain things prior to my sighting.
Yeah. And a lot of times, somebody will have an encounter with something and then they don't actually put 2 and 2 together and say that it's all connected.
True.
Dano, what do you think Sasquatch is?
My personal belief, and again, this is just my belief, flesh and blood. Now, I'm not disputing that there may be some supernatural aspect to it. There may be some woo factor to it, but until I experience that myself, I'm never going to deny it, but I'm going to put it on the back burner.
Fair enough.
Well, there's a spiritual element to us human beings too,
Mm-hmm.
and we're flesh and blood. So,
So, Daniel, you believe that Bigfoot, Dogman, or just any cryptid is just all flesh and blood, or
Nope,
what is
I
it
don't.
that you believe?
Nope. Dogman, I don't know what to think. I've never had an encounter with them. Everything I've heard from when I've talked to certain people that's had encounters, I've had people on my show that's had encounters. There's a lot more to those. I kind of go down the rabbit hole where it's potentially a government created type thing. But then on the other hand, my dad, when he lived in Ketchikan, Alaska, it's where he grew up, while he was out hunting. And I want to say it was either before he went to basic training or before he went to Vietnam, he wanted to do one last hunt, and he saw a werewolf. That's what he described. He said he saw a werewolf, and to the day that he passed away, he full-heartedly believed in werewolves.
Wow.
Dan?
Go ahead, Dick.
I was going to say, I saw two dogmen or whatever they were that fell out of portals in the sky and harassed my three other buddies and I for about 2 hours straight. So,
But don't believe him because he was on meth and cocaine. So.
I'm on meth and cocaine right now.
Tim Hortons sausage biscuits.
How high
was
up was
loaded
the
with.
portal?
Yeah.
I had a.
He's also Canadian.
Oh, all right. No, all right. Those
He's
Canucks.
like, now we have enough to just say, let's forget about this.
All right.
Go ahead, Dave.
I had a guest on that was an avid mountain biker, got in a bad accident, was trying to physical therapy, was able to get back on his bike, and was riding around in this area that was an avid bike path and things like that. And he said he heard this loud pop noise. I think that's how he described it. And he looked over and he saw this portal open up and watched this dogman walk out of this portal.
Interesting.
And what was very interesting about it is he said it looked like it was carrying a shopping bag, like an empty shopping bag.
Wow.
And it's I mean, some people have had those encounters. I've spoke with Daryl Denton, with some of his encounters up in the LBL. I've talked with other people who's been up in the LBL. I had a team that took some thermal footage, what they believe to be a dogman, and I've studied that footage time and time again. It's one of my favorite things that I have. What I like to say, evidence-wise, and it's just to me, it's amazing footage. Now, am I saying it's 100% a dogman? No, because I wasn't there from the very beginning of the footage to the very end of the footage. But what I have and what I've seen is pretty compelling.
So, so you're inclined to believe that Dogman could be anything, but Bigfoot, you stand by that it's sort of like it's a flesh and blood, or do you believe? I mean, what do you believe?
I believe that. Okay, what I saw was flesh and blood. What I saw 100% was flesh and blood. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some type of supernatural properties to Bigfoot. I've heard so many reports. I've talked to so many people say they've walked in and out of portals. They've seen Bigfoot go into the woods and see a spacecraft lift up out of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
There's always those correlations with aliens, with spacecraft, with portals. I had an individual on who did some remote viewing, and they projected, I guess, themselves to this area, and they said it looked really, really weird. The sky was like a cobalt blue. The surroundings that he was standing in, just it didn't look right. And he looked over and he saw what looked like a door, like a portal open up, and out walked this juvenile Sasquatch and then a female Sasquatch. And the juvenile walked up to him and was like doing all these, like, hey, look at me, those type of stuff. And the mom grabbed him and pulled him away from this guy who had this remote viewing. And he said the look on her face was like, how dare you invade, how dare you invade our area or our realm or whatever you want to call it. And he said what really was crazy is that soon after the female pulled the juvenile away, another male came walking out of the portal, slowly walked by him and stared him down, kind of gave him an up and down look. And then a third one or fourth one came out, and then a fifth one came out, and the fifth one stopped and looked at him and kind of just gave him this look like, yeah, you don't need to be here. And slowly walked away. And then that's when he came back out of his remote viewing. But he described it very vividly. So is there a supernatural thing to it? Yes. I'm not going to say that I 100% believe all of that because I've never experienced it. I haven't seen it. But I'm not going to say that that's not out of the realm of probability.
Yeah, because, I mean, for me, I think it's both. And I think that there is a physical element to these things. But I think that demons, just in and of their nature, and not just demons, but how do you say, man, I don't know, maybe alien, even, like, there's all these different types of entities, and they're different. They are different, but they can all do the same thing. They can solidify and be, and that's something that we can't do because we can't reconstitute ourselves unless we're going in and out of other dimensions, which we don't do unless we're sleeping. Mm-hmm. And that's something that now there are people, I've had them on the show. I've had people on the show who claim that they've walked through portals. One guy was on our show and he swears up and down he's not in the right time. He's not in his right. He's a very sad guy. Yeah. He's a very sad guy. He's from Wraith Hunters. What was his name?
That would be a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ceballos was his last name.
Was it Ceballos?
Okay, let me
Anthony Ceballos.
Anthony Ceballos.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So you're saying that he walked through a portal and he has told you that he is not in his right timeline.
Yeah. He literally came on our show and said that he was out ghost hunting. And I know where he was at. He was near Donkey Lady Bridge. And that actually is not too far from the stories that we were talking about from these two brothers, Albert and Arturo. Mm-hmm. And there's some weird stuff right there in that area of San Antonio. And that same area, not too far from there, is where the story is going to come out in a couple of weeks on Patreon about Tiffany M., who was a dancer. Let's put it that way. She was an exotic dancer. Yeah. And she got accosted by 3 individuals who were definitely not from this world. And one of them told her something that was really bizarre. He said that she asked him the point blank, "What are you? Who are you?" He said, "We're demons, but we're not from here." Mm-hmm. And one of them just laughed and said, "We're not locals." Wow. Yeah. I mean, it was a sick, weird thing, but they were evil.
Did they have a grocery bag?
And did they have a grocery bag? Probably. If they did, it was full of bad things.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're going to get that story, and it's going to come out. But when you interview some of these people, I've had people break down. I've had people just tell me way too much too. And I like one guy, he was confessing all this stuff. I said, "Look, I'm not a priest. That you need to talk to somebody. It's above my pay grade because you're telling me stuff that I can't. You're confessing things that I don't want to know. First of all, And he was saying, "What do I do?" And I said, "Well, you can start by praying. I mean, that's the first thing you can. That's the most important thing." It's like when you're taking supplements, people I'm taking this, I'm taking that. Do you take a multivitamin? Because if you don't have a base, why are you taking that other stuff? Mm-hmm. The chemical reactions aren't going to work.
I don't cover paranormal on my channel. I did at one time have a paranormal podcast. It was called The Paranormal Narrative. And I started getting a lot of unwanted attention. It just seemed like in the span of a week, just out of the blue, my mailbox just blew up. And I was reading the emails, hey, I've had this encounter. I'm not sure what it is, and they would tell me, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's book you a time to come on the channel and talk about it. And then there was like a series of like 6 people that really started talking and wanted to talk about demon possession, the occult, black magic, witchcraft, that type of stuff. That's part of the paranormal I don't want to touch. I believe it's very, very easy to manifest things if you give it any type of power or attention.
Mhm.
And I said, hey, guys, I respectfully decline. I truly appreciate it, but it's not something I really want to get into. And like out of the 6, it was like 4 were like, okay, that's cool, we understand, no problem. But there were 2 that really just would not leave me alone. And it was like, listen, we have a message that we want people to hear, and you need to let us on so we can spread that message.
Mhm.
And it got threatening to the point, and then I started feeling things starting to manifest. I noticed that my temper was really quick to show up. I was getting short with my wife over stupid little things, and I was like, I've got to completely get rid of this thing. And so I completely deleted the channel. I deleted the email. I deleted everything that I had associated with it, and then cleansed my house and walked around and said the prayer, held my Bible and prayed in each one of my rooms. And then soon everything just started slowly just going back to normal. And so, yeah, it's not something I really want to get into if someone wants to bring it up.
Yeah, you have to be really strong to deal with
Yeah.
this. And the thing is, too, you got to be careful with the whole Dogman thing because, when I wrote the book about, Ken Gerhard wrote it, but it's my work.
Mhm.
That's something that I've got to make sure that people understand, and Ken knows that. But he helped me with the interviews, and I had never written a book before, and so I went to somebody who was a good friend who had written books, many books, and I said, I want to write a book. And he says, okay, well, good luck with that. And he walks off. No, I'm kidding. Now he told me, he says, well, what do you want to write it about? And he knew, Ken kind of looked at me and said, Dogman. I said, yeah, I want to write a Dogman book. And I want to interview a lot of people from the community who've had experiences. And interestingly, we've had people like Nick Redfern, who's a very world-renowned author in of himself. And he talks about his experience, which very, very much spiritual type of entity is what it seemed to be. And so when Ken first started writing the book, he said, I asked him, I said, what do you think a Dogman is? He said, I don't know. It's like a cryptid, right? It's weird. It's like a, wolf-like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. By the time he was done, he said, I don't know what this thing is. I think it's a demon. He's just like, I don't know. He's like, I thought I kind of had a handle on it. And then there was all these people telling me all this weird stuff. He interviewed 40 people probably. And it was, a lot of, and not everybody made the cut. I didn't have room to make, 40,000 words, whatever. We decided to put a cap on it. And then we took a chapter out, even though a couple people, including Lyle Blackburn, another good friend of mine, and David Weatherly, we all talked about it. And I wanted their input. These are people that are, big names in the cryptid community. They've been writing books for longer than I've been involved in this. And, we talked. Sibylla Irwin was another one. Should we leave that chapter in there? And overwhelmingly, they said yes. And I still said, I don't know. I just don't know. Because it did talk about a county and that's where my ranch is at. And I'm like, I don't want problems with that county.
Yeah.
Even though it was officials from back in the 60s who are nowhere around anymore, but they still have descendants and some of them are still involved. And I don't want to be pissing people off.
Yep.
Or as they say in Texas, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining because, and I didn't want to have to do that and really upset these people. And so, I do think this whole Dogman thing, be real careful if you're looking to not, be mixed up in the, and let me bring on this other guy here. Hold on one second. Welcome to the show, Daniel. Just mute your mic until we can get to you. And so you got to be careful because there is an element to this, and the natives who I'm proud of being very good friends with a lot of them here in this community. And let me tell you, there's something demonic about that Dogman.
Oh, for sure.
There is definitely something I don't, I don't want to just say, well, it's a demon, and just, that's just to put a stamp on it. If you're Christian, it's a demon. If you're a Muslim, it's a jinn. They just say, well, this is what it is, and then you just walk off. That's not the case. There's more to it than that. It is something that can attach itself. Literally, it's a werewolf, and what it does. And I don't care who wants to believe or don't believe. Dogman, in and of itself, doesn't exist the way people think it does. It is a human. It has to be a vessel. And there is an entity known as the other, and it attaches itself to the top of the base of the neck and and Anthony, we've heard this.
Oh, yeah.
And they tell us this. And they said that people can call it whatever you want, but there are others like us. They've told us. We don't know exactly who or what they are. They have their own whatever, but it's the same principle. There is a flesh that is a human. It has to start out as a human. Now, when you start talking about the government, i.e. shadow government, that changes things. Now, you got people who have remote viewed, and one of them is a good friend of mine. I'll call him Raleigh. That's his nickname. But Raleigh, he's been remote viewing for a long time, and he told me, he says, look, and him and my other friend Kev, and he was at my conference, and he said, look, this remote viewing, I ended up going into a building where these people were wolfing out. And he was like, I don't know what that was. It was so bizarre. It wasn't a dream. He was out of his body, and he was remote viewing, and he was trying to, but it was really not remote viewing. It was astral projection. And it was a base term. They say remote viewing. It could mean a lot of different things. You're aiming for a target. There's different levels of remote viewing, and then there's those that come straight up out of their body and work for the military. He's one of them, and he learned how to do it. And he actually was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and he was laying down. This is what he said. Now, I don't know if it's true, is what he said. And he ended up going into another place that was far away, about 400 miles. And he went into this building, and these beings were changing. These were not humans. He also was basically run out of there by these black spirit-like creatures that were there that looked like the Grim Reaper. There were 4 of them, one on each corner. And one of them escorted him back to his facility and was friendly with him, probably because he was part of a program that they were aware of. And they were just like, you came to the wrong spot. Or there was something they were trying to avoid, like a conflict. And he says, I think you need this. He didn't know what this entity had said. He looked it up, and it was Portuguese, which is weird. And then it told him, hey, you're in the wrong building, and this is where you belong. And it took him to a facility where they had these, what looked like humans that were inside of this embryonic fluid. And some of them were in various stages of transformation. Yeah. So, and then he wakes up, and he's like, whoa, what the hell? He was debriefed pretty heavily about what happened, and he lied, and got out of there. But that's the story. Well, he now lives in another continent. I don't blame him.
Sure.
I heard a story that this gentleman was 12 years old, and he was out hunting, and this all goes with how Dogman can attach to you and follow you. He believes he heard mind speak, where it spoke to him because he sees this thing, and he said it looked like a fox at first. And so he brought his shotgun up, and he heard in his mind, don't. And before he heard the rest of the comment, he pulled the trigger and shot this animal. And then he heard, shoot me. So he was going to say, don't shoot me. And this thing came out where he believed this fox had fallen. And he's like, why did you shoot me? I told you not to shoot me. And he goes, well, you scared me. And he goes, you see, he said, this thing goes, that's what I like to do. I like to scare people.
Sure.
And so literally from age 12 throughout his adult life, this thing would show up and make its presence known. And like, I'm here. And what really, I think, brought this to the absolute pinnacle of his encounters with this creature was he was driving, and this thing appeared on the side of the road, and started running next to his vehicle and was projecting voices or whatever in his head saying, he goes, "Don't think I haven't forgot about you. When I'm given the okay, I'm going to kill you first."
Mm.
And he said, he stepped on his gas, left it in the dust. He said he went home, he started praying, he found religion, he found God, and he goes, since he did that, he goes, he hasn't had any encounters from that
Wow.
creature. But the fact that this thing projected, when I'm given the okay, I'm going to kill you first. So that tells me, like you said, I agree with you on the fact that I think Dogman is evil. I think it's a demon of some kind, or it may, like I said, it could be some freak US, whatever. But the fact that I've been reading the chat that there's something going on behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and we really, honestly, as a people, one, I think, need to find God. And we need to be ready for whatever comes our way.
Yeah,
Yep.
being prepared is very important. When you stop and you look at this, from the outside looking in, and that's a lot of people, they'll just say in a passing, not like we are, we're all immersed into this culture, but people will look at it and go, what do you talk about, werewolves? What is that? They don't really understand. They don't know. And they say, is this like a skinwalker? Because they know that term. They know that term. And I'll tell them, I'll say, yes, it's all of the above. But the truth of what this really is, it's something that everybody's running around looking for. But the really fantastical, to them, I guess, it's fantastical because they haven't been initiated into the levels of understanding, of knowledge. Because people will do anything to get and it's all, like I said, it's all based in pride, keeping up with the Joneses and looking cooler than your neighbors. And people will do anything for power, anything. Sell their soul, become a monster. They don't care, whatever it takes to be more powerful or better or whatever than their neighbors. And it's a game as old as time. And the people that run the show, they'll do anything. They'll dangle the carrot so that you'll bite, to make you fall for this. And it's nothing to them, because this is a matrix and they have the cheat code. So just they'll throw you the cheat code. But there are laws, and they are breaking those laws when they enter into agreements with you. But have you ever met a drug dealer that said, hey, you know what? I can't sell you this coke. This is actually illegal in this country and many other countries. Let's just.
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't met a drug dealer that made a lot of money and just was like, all of a sudden had an attack of conscience. You know what? This is against the law. And so, you know what? I've been reading the laws here, and I just think this is something I can't do. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this transaction. Keep all that cash you got there.
Can't keep disrespecting our fine men and women of law enforcement by selling this to you.
I don't want to be on cops.
Yeah.
Bad boys. But who is going to do that? So what are these demons going to go? Yeah, I'm breaking the rules here. That is the whole point. I mean, that's what they get something out of it. And breaking the rules is a big part of it, because if you don't circumvent the rules, you don't get what you want, right? Now, I will say this: these very same entities that they pull the strings of people to make rules that are literally against the cosmic laws of nature and God, and they impose these rules on us. So you have these people that make a hobby or a habit out of enforcing rules that are literally written by demons. I kid you not. And I have friends that are in law enforcement, and I've told them, I said, would you uphold this law if this was, and we've had these conversations because one of them is a good family friend. I see him at Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever. And I told him, I said, I'll call him Jay. I said, Jay, would you uphold, we had this talk a couple of Christmases ago. I said, would you uphold this law? And he says, well, I got to uphold the laws, domestic laws of the land. I said, even if this is a completely immoral thing, I said, you need to stop and think about this, because you have now entered into being a cop for the devil. I said, and do you know that there are actual demons that come to this realm to track down and take certain souls that have, and this is something that I've been told, I'm not saying 100%, but it's my understanding that they reincarnate, they come off the wheel of Dharma, and they're not supposed to be here. They're hiding, and there are demons that will come and grab them, and they're like cops. They take those people to the abyss, to where they're tormented until judgment. What these people don't understand is if a demon can be a cop can be a demon. And it doesn't matter because you put a uniform on and you've agreed and you've written some manifesto that they wrote and you signed it and said, okay, I'm going to uphold these rules. You won't get ahead if you just go around following the rules, of this law of the land, because a lot of these laws, and I'm not just talking about laws, but jurisdictions, all these different types of whatever, they're made. This red tape is just mountains of it to keep you from succeeding, to keep you from being. It keeps you in your place, so to speak. Let's put it that way. And if you want to win, by following the laws, you can be the happy helper do, and you think you're doing good, and you're running and tattling everybody. There were lots of rules and laws in communist Russia. And look at how many people died in the gulags. Hundreds of millions of people died under communism. How did they catch all those people? Because everybody was following the laws. They were running around tattletelling on everybody. The Nazis, the communists, the Khmer Rouge. Look at all these people who died under these horrible regimes because they followed the laws. They said, I'm going to follow the rules. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to go out and break every rule.
Yeah.
But you got to understand something. If the people that are above you are setting rules in place, and they're immoral, their laws are going to be immoral. They're not coming from a good place.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah. And so a lot of these man-made laws have a cosmic, there's cosmic disruption there. They're going against the laws of God. They really are.
There were some pretty crazy rules that came out about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
One of the most effective ways to, in my opinion, to corrupt someone is to convince them that they're doing the right thing. To convince them that they're right, and they'll do whatever. They'll follow any law, enforce anything in place, because they think, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, when in reality, you're participating in evil.
That's what you saw in our military. I'm prior military myself, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on that, especially if you work out in the field. Like I was a security police officer in the Air Force. And, you have guys that go out in missile fields and they experience things, they see things. And, because we're under a certain security clearance or a certain, it's called PRP, personal reliability program, because we have that, we don't say anything, because once you get taken off of PRP, you get your security clearance taken away. Your job that you're doing, you're worthless. You can't do your job that you trained so many years to do, and that's why a lot of people are really tight-lipped while they're active duty. But there are clauses. I guess you can call them clauses. Like if you're given a direct order, if it's a lawful order, but if it goes against some type of your morality or anything like that, you can this is not a just order. You can disobey it, but I mean, you're going to get punished for it.
Yeah.
But so it's like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So I guess, over the last administration, what did you see going on in the military? What did you see going on in a lot of law enforcement? They were getting gutted because they didn't stand up to what the powers that be were trying to facilitate and push forward.
Yeah, and if you were in SPs, right, in the Air Force, the Air Force is SPs. I was good friends with one in Nellis Air Force Base, and I remember talking to him and his wife both, and just a lot of weird stuff that they were asked to do. You get waking up in the middle of the night to go and deal with weirdness, and it's your job to uphold the law of the military, which while you're in the military, that supersedes the civilian law. And so you're in this military law, and anything that happens, they're going to deal with it. And so they had to arrest people in civilian settings. And at one point they even got into an altercation, not a physical fight, but a verbal argument with these two police officers from North Las Vegas because they were like, no, we're taking this guy in. And they're like, no, we're picking him up. We got papers here, for a court. He's already going to be a court martial. It's not even a matter of anything. And there was so they had to, these police officers not knowing the rules, they took him in. The SPs waited outside, and then they said, once it's cleared, you're going to know that you're going to have to release him to us. He's in our custody. And they said, okay, well, he broke the law, the civilian law, whatever, but he's not a civilian. He belongs to the military.
Right.
And then the military will punish you. Now, the civilian court can punish you too, but you will do your time in the stockade or brig, depending upon where you're at and what you're, and so you'll go to Leavenworth, and if you get, 50 years, say you do 25 and you get out, you go into civilian court, you will probably get time served, not guaranteed, but usually they'll say, okay, you've done 20, but you still have to go through the process. But the military, you'll go there first because you signed yourself over to the military. Now, there's some weird things that happen too. This one particular guy that they were arresting his big crime was espionage, but it wasn't really espionage. It was accidental. But they didn't care. So he went AWOL. And so they got him for AWOL and they put him 30 years, and labor, which is a horrible sentence. And that is the military. You have to be real careful. I tell people, if you're going to join the military, you better be ready to do whatever you're told, because if you don't, your life will be forfeit. And anything and everything can happen to you. People die every day in the military in some form or another, in ours and in others around the world. They die. And they're told whatever they feel like telling the family. Yeah. That's just the bottom line.
I've seen instances, and I mean, again, people in your chat are probably going to like scratch their head and like, what? I watched a guy who got extremely sunburned, and he caught an Article 15.
Oh man.
He got demoted in rank, was defined to quarters, and lost forfeiture of pay for however long they got him because he got sunburned. The reason was it was destruction of government property, because believe it or not, when you sign that dotted line and you take that oath, you are now property of the United States government.
Yeah.
And and he was dereliction of duty because he was not able to perform his duty because he was so sunburned. Exactly. Damaged government property. Absolutely. And it's insane, but it happened. So, I mean, you have to be very careful in what you say, very careful in what you do when you're active duty military. It's again, I enjoyed the whole time I was in. It's one of the greatest times of my life. I would do it all over again if I was asked to join, even in the condition my body's in now. I'm 53 years old. I've got bad knees, bad ankles, bad hips, nerve damage, hearing loss. And, I would do it all over again, even knowing what the outcome was. So
it definitely gives you something, and Odysseus, I know who you are, and I can't believe you just said that. And, you can't, this is why, okay, because he was a dirtbag. They were looking for a reason. Now, they were looking for a reason. Doesn't necessarily mean he was a dirtbag. I've seen people get sandbagged on all kinds of jobs and all kinds of things, and it doesn't mean that they were a bad person. Sometimes you just run afoul of somebody who don't like you.
Yep.
A lot of times it's jealousy. I've had that problem many times where I perform a job duty and somebody that sees me as a threat, they're like, that guy could end up as a manager. I've had meetings with people and told them, I don't want your job. I don't want it. Will not do your job. In fact, one of our contractors now that works for us, and we've been working together now for over 15 years. We get along fine. We're not best friends, but he was my boss at another company, and now he subcontracts from me. When I worked under him, we got along great. The main thing about him was, and I'll say this, I'm not going to say his name, but I helped him do his job. And he was a captain, I was a lieutenant. But he was always coming to me and saying, I heard you want my job. I said, I don't know why you keep coming to me and saying this. I don't want your job. It's $1 more per hour and it's a ton of work. And I'm already helping you keep your job. And I'm not going to mix words. He knows me very well. And I don't care if he watches this shit. It's true. Okay. So he runs a couple patrol routes for us, but he just, we've had issues. And I told my business partner, at one point we had so many issues. I said, keep him away from me because, you know, I'm going to take care of my side of the company. You want to deal with him, you deal with him. But he was my supervisor at another company. Well, he told him a story. He's ex-military. He's a Marine. I respect him for that. He said, Turner wanted my job, but never would admit it. I said, so I told my business partner, I said, all these years you've known me, am I a liar? Have I ever lied to you? Do you know, just bold-faced lying to you? He says, no. And I said, well, how many times are you got to tell somebody I don't want your damn job? Because I could have taken it. Because his boss, who was a Marine too, really good guy, and I was really close friends with this guy for a long, long time. I worked with him at 3 different companies. He offered me his job every month, and I didn't want it. And I told him, I said, I could take your job at any time. I don't want it. Stop asking me. It's like you're tempting me, and I don't want to do it. I don't want it. So eventually, I ended up doing a patrol duty like but not even getting paid for it. And I said, look, if you're going to make me do this work, I want to get paid like it. And I said, and I'm not going to work like him. And so the boss said, look, if you want to do what he's doing, we'll pay you $2 more per hour. That speaks to his level of competence, not mine, because they wouldn't give him an extra $1 because the boss knew that I was doing a lot of his work. You see how that works? That was years ago. And now here now we're friends. We're copacetic. We get along. For the sake of my business partner, we get along. We do what we got to do. He does his job. I do mine. And I tell him, I never wanted your job. I could have done it and I could have taken it and I could have, you know. He says, well, yeah, you were Jackson's pet, you were his favorite, whatever. I said, me and him worked at another company, 3 different places. And I was a supervisor for him. I helped him do a lot of things. So of course he's going to offer me that job. I said, and yes, he did offer me, but I didn't go to him in his office and say, hey man, can you give me more work? I don't want this shit. Because I've always had 2 jobs, at least, or 3. I was running a nightclub. And so I did that 5 nights a week and I worked over there 2. He kept trying to get me to go full time and become a field captain and run the whole thing. It was 118 accounts with one guy in charge at night. Hell no. So we have it now. We have 98 accounts right now at this company. And I can tell you this, we have 4 people at night that help. We did each direction, a west person, south, east, whatever. So you don't have all this problems, you know. But that's what happens, people, and then they will do anything they can to destroy you and to embarrass you or to try to humiliate you. He even went so far with this one guy who started a fight with me, who was a big problem. I even had to kick him out of the 24-hour fitness. There was a gym. We had that contract for years. I had to kick him out of there. He and me got into it. This guy, he's an Army. Article 15. I mean, I'm talking just not right. Kicked him out of the gym, and he tried to beat up the female manager there on duty. So me and him got into it. He claims we sparred one time. We didn't spar. I knocked him out. That was at a different gym, and I'm not gonna say the guy's name, but he worked security with me. You know, this other guy I was telling you about that had the problem with me. We had problem after problem with that guy, and when he came to my job site and tried to start something with me, I defended myself. And this guy says, yeah, he picked the fight with him. And my boss was like, how the hell did he do that if he was on his site? He was at his job site. That guy went to his job site. And I picked the fight. How did that happen? So there's that. You know, what happens when somebody keeps on doing these kind of things? Well, eventually it comes to a head. I'm going to tell you something. Just because that guy got in trouble for sunburn, whatever, that doesn't mean he was a scumbag.
Nope.
The guy might have just came across a CO or an NCO that didn't like him and just said, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this guy. This son of a bitch I'm going to deal with him because maybe he thought he was a threat or maybe he was insubordinate to him in some way. Yeah. Because people will do that too. They will find a way for you to piss them off so they have cause to go after you because they really don't like you. But it's all based in jealousy. I see it now with this podcast. The security field is just one of many arenas I've been in. Downtown working in the club scene is a very, very nasty backbiting thing. It happens here now too in this paranormal field, in cryptids, paranormal, whatever. The same thing. You'll have people who don't want to do right. They don't want to act right. And instead of doing better, because maybe they're not capable of it or they just don't want to, they just try to bring you down and knock you down and take you out at the knees because you're doing too much, too good. And there's a lot of people who've come at me. But I feel like that we're over the target. And those people are being manipulated by forces that they probably don't even comprehend. Some of them do. Some of them are actively working with those forces, but then some of them are just pawns and they don't know any better. They wake up every day and they think that their mind is their own. They think that their will is their own, and it's not. Their will belongs to something evil, malicious, that controls them. And it stirs larceny in the hearts of men. And there's this blossoming jealousy that just gets worse and worse and worse. It gets out of control. And then these people lose control of their mind. And that happens. But I can sit here and tell you I'm a testament to not holding grudges. I don't hold grudges, because if you hold grudges, you're going to die old, alone, or whatever, and you're going to be broke. I'm telling you right now, dude, if you go around feuding and hanging on to it, you're going to be broke as hell. You ain't going to have no friends, no allies. People are people. People make mistakes. Now, there are some people that are absolutely malicious and vile, and they will never change. They are incapable. They're born beyond redemption. I don't care what anybody says. Other people make mistakes. This guy that I work with now, he really doesn't work with me. He works with my business partner, but I don't have a problem with him. He did what he did. He was insecure. And that was years ago. And we've hashed it out many times. And I've told him, I don't hold any ill will towards you. Every time something happens, it's like, well, you still holding a grudge. No, I'm not. I promise you, I don't. I do not care. He has his own company. I said, you work your own company. You work with us. You subcontract, whatever. I said, I have no problem with you. None. What happened in the past was unfortunate. You didn't believe enough in yourself. You kept on, and trying to knock me down because you thought something that wasn't correct. But now you do your job, I do mine, and we stay out of each other's way. I don't have a problem with him. But that's a long-winded, to point out what this person said. I know the person personally. I'm not going to. And he says, now, wait a minute. If you want to come on and discuss it, and then we can come on and discuss it, you can come back into the queue there. I know who you are. And I'll tell you again why I think you're wrong for saying stuff like that, because you don't know. Okay? Now, some people are going to argue, and that's fine. But you can't make statements like that and it go unchallenged. You can make any statement you want, but it's going to be challenged. I don't agree. I've seen many people get, in trouble in the military because somebody don't like them. Because the system, the way it is set up, it's easy for someone to be abused by higher ups. And you can't jump chain of command. So if you get an NCO that don't like your ass, guess what? You're just going to have to deal with them. And if you go to and you're having a problem with an E5 or E6, you're not just going to go to some CO and can tattletale. What do you think that a lot of those COs, they're going to? Well, what did the NCO say? That's what they're going to tell you. And that NCO is going to rip your ass. You're going to be, oh, really? You want to go tattletale on me? You think that that's going to save you? No. And then they are going to make your life hell until you're booted out. So that doesn't mean that somebody is a dirtbag. So let's not say things like that, Odysseus, okay? Because that's not correct.
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me on, man. I'm going to bed. 4 o'clock comes early in the morning. So, again, thanks for having me on, man. It was a good time.
For sure. And we'll get together. We need to collaborate. And if you want,
Sure.
I don't do a lot of other people's shows, but if you'd like, I could come on and tell you a lot of stuff.
Sure, man.
And I'd love to have you on, and I'd love to get your encounters and have you do a set with us.
Sure, man. I'd be honored. So,
yeah. Tell everybody where they can find you.
You guys, you can find me on YouTube and Spotify, The Cryptid Podcast. And if you've had an encounter you'd like to tell me about it or possibly come on the show, my email address is thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com.
Okay. And there you have it.
All right, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
See ya.
See you later.
Chato, what's going on?
What's up, bro?
Okay, so do you want to explain?
Yeah. Because in my experience, in the 10 years that I did in the infantry, the only guys that got tagged for stuff like that are the guys that were not up to par, and they were just looking for a way to cull the herd.
Yeah.
It might sound cruel, but that's the way that it boils down, bro.
So
people who just don't make the cut,
experience-
they look for reasons to get them out.
Mm-hmm. And in your experience, the NCOs are never to blame. They always make the right decisions, and they don't have jealousy or pride.
That's what they say. That's what they instill in the privates, and that's why coming fresh out of basic training, like anything that the NCO says goes. And by military doctrine, it doesn't matter if it's an NCO that's non-combat arms. If he tells a private that's combat arms to do something, he has to do it. And if he doesn't, there will be repercussions. But like other NCOs that are infantry or combat arms, always stand up for their guys. Unless it's a guy that's a problem maker, like just a frequent problem child.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll get on their ass. But
so here's my take on this. Okay, you have your own experience in what's happened to you in the military, 10 years in the Army, right? And then there are dozens of other people who I've spoken to, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, even in Army, Navy, it doesn't matter. And they have run afoul of an NCO who has a grudge or doesn't like them. In fact, I know one guy in the Navy who got booted. He didn't get booted out. He left.
Yeah.
But his NCO was an alcoholic. What's he supposed to do? You're on a ship. You're on a Westpac to Okinawa. Yeah. You're on that ship for 3 months or however long it's going to be. And what do you think is going to happen if that NCO doesn't like you?
Yeah, well, it's like everywhere. It's a boys club, bro. Who's giving him the fucking alcohol? You got to think about that too. But yeah, it goes both ways, bro. You get paid I've gotten paid by the same sort too, just by being a good NCO. Guys that are in a position that shouldn't be there, they start fucking shitting on you because you're better than them too. So I don't know, man. It could go both ways, but I'm telling you that always happens with people who don't deserve to be there. Like, let me repeat that: don't deserve to be there.
So humans are fallible, right? So whenever someone says, "Hey, this is what happened to me," there's always another component.
Yeah, and that's why you have badass NCOs like me. If you fuck up, I'll make you sweat a little bit, make you do some push-ups, and get back up. Now they can't hit him with a double whammy. Now they can't go after him administratively.
You're an NCO that is in charge of people, right? That's the case.
Yeah.
You see it from their perspective, just like when I'm in management or in ownership, I see it from my perspective. When before I only saw the workers' side, now I see both sides. So, and watch the F-bombs, because my algorithms are just in the toilet, because any little thing I do, the hillbillies have eyes. Come, Richard knows what I'm talking about. So, Richard, you're still going to marry her though, right? You're going to help us with Fiona?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job.
I was thinking of marrying both of them.
Taking one for the team.
Become a woman, you could do that. You know,
Sandwich
we'll look
and
into
stuff.
that. We'll see what we can do.
Just have little Shrek.
I have a really good friend who's what is Henry?
Yeah,
he's in the Marines for 15 years or 14 years. Let's get him. He's a Mormon.
Yeah,
now he could trace your genealogy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's a good guy to have. We'll get him. You can be a Mormon. I got some friends over in Provo. They'll marry you up. You can have multiple. They're into polygamy for real. Not even joking. Not my thing.
That is so strange.
But they are.
In my opinion.
Very strange. But doing what I do, you have to talk to all kinds of people. You can't just be, whatever.
And I feel like it was.
Wanted to say hi to you.
I feel like it wasn't your position to question me because it's your show and I'm on here very frequently. But like, I just think it personally because I think it's fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. I think it's like,
please.
I think it's like ridiculous to get tagged for stuff like that. But like also stuff like that, I'm not lying, man, when I say that stuff like that is reserved for people that are not up to par, but they're looking for tiny little reasons to just get them out of there.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens in every field too. And the security field is kind of like a mock-up of the military, when you think about it. And you most of the time it's run by former military people or off-duty cops too. We work with a lot of different people like that, and they'll tell you exactly how they go about getting rid of somebody, because you can't just get rid of somebody. They'll go to the workforce commission, and if you do
because they know the regulations, and they'll wait for you for a situation that's unbeknownst to you, where it goes across, like against policy or against one of those little loopholes that they know about, and boom, that's when they get you.
Yeah. So that was my point, though. That's why I was standing on that. I was just like, look, you don't know the situation, though, so it's hard for us to say. But
yeah, but I'm sorry. I just wanted to add some context to the situation, and then you asked me for clarity, so here I am.
But you were in E6, right?
Yeah, I was in E6.
Then you're going to have a different perspective.
Yeah,
one of my best friends was in E7. The guy that I was talking
when you
about
can't,
earlier
you
that I
can't,
worked
you're like
with.
when you're supposed to count on the guy that's like behind you or in front of you, jumping out of an airplane to not mess up. So like, it's a different world too.
You know, let me say this: Marines stick together, right? And so my old boss at that company I was with, I was at that company off and on for 11 years, right? And I had another job, but I usually worked part time for them, and then I did a couple stints where I worked full time. Worked with that guy though for 16 years altogether.
Yeah,
really good friend of mine, and he was an E7. He was a gunny sergeant in the Marine Corps, and this other guy was an E5 in the Marines. Now that that works, he subcontracts for us. I personally don't give a shit what he thinks. I don't care. He knows how I feel. But Marines stick together. So I told him, I said, you being a Marine and this guy being, you know, a Marine, don't you think he should take your side over mine? So there was something there between these two former NCOs that was a problem. And so I told him, I said, that doesn't make sense.
Sometimes they have like these little nitpicky things where they don't get along because of their MOS, and some people get really picky and petty with it. So
that could be too.
Yeah, but, like the infantry calls everybody a pogue except for Doc. Right.
Yeah.
And like so like maybe it has something to do with that, but like there's other like little MOSs that are like maybe like an MP, even though they're not infantry, but because they're cops, they're like, oh, we're more infantry than like a cook or whatever. Like it's just petty.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like they give each other crap just on purpose, just to make each other's day.
Well, so, the 0311 is definitely
it's an infantry Marine.
Yeah,
and then the 0312 is an infantry machine gunner.
Mm-hmm. So let me do this real quick, Daniel. You've been waiting patiently. What do you have something to tell us tonight?
Thanks for letting me clarify myself, Wolf. By the way.
No problem. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't agree with the statement, but you know.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it kind of like, hey, from what I've seen, that's why and sometimes I rant off. But I apologize if anybody was offended or whatever. I'm sorry.
I know you don't mean that.
I do mean it. I'm working on it. All right.
That's what I like about you, though. You're a real man. You don't wear your feelings on your sleeves. You don't give a shit.
I do give a shit, bro. That's why I'm here.
In the sandbox long enough. You know how it works. So, Daniel, tell us what do you have going on here?
So, I'd just like to pick your brains sometimes because you seem like you got a big one. So, how many?
Got a big head.
Yeah. How many dimensions do you think there are?
That's a good one. You know, I actually have a friend he's a big, you would not look at this guy and think he is a massive, intelligent scientist, but he is. And he is Russian. And he worked out with us at this gym. It was like a powerlifting gym called Big Tex. And you really, if you're a guy, you're going there because you're into muscles. I mean, you want your body to be big and strong. And one day he was squatting like a massive amount of weight, and he almost fell backwards. And I helped him. I said, "Dude, what the heck, you know?" And it was Eric Konevsky. I don't know if y'all know him. He's got that bunch of now he's going after pedos or whatever. Russian gangster. Me and him good friends, and he speaks fluent Russian. And so we started talking to this guy, and this guy was blowing us away with his knowledge. And when he watched my show one day, I gave him a card, and so him and there's this other guy who's a Filipino guy, and he was roommates with this German guy. There's all these international people, right? Because people from overseas, they're into fitness. They're all in there working out. So they're around telling me these encounters. One of them was telling me about a vampire, and I've told it on the show. The Russian comes up to me, and he just like a typical Russian, he comes up to me and he says, my friend, no, you're wrong. You're just all wrong. You are all over the place. I just, you know, everything. You're so smart, but you're wrong about this dimension. And he tells me this. And Anthony's standing there, and he comes over because he thought maybe I was going to belt this guy or something. And I'm standing because it's right next to the jiu-jitsu school. Rudy's got his school right there. And then right next to that is Black Sheep. And so there's all these fighters that go in there and they train. I don't know if Oleg was a trainer, fighter, or whatever. And I told him, I said, how am I wrong? Tell me. He goes, you'll have, like you said, he says, you have the big brain, but you don't know the dimension. There are only 6. And I told him, I said, mathematically, I think you're wrong. He said, no, my dad is scientist, my grandfather's scientist, I am scientist. You're wrong. Only 6 dimensions. There's no way it would go beyond the 6. And I told him, I said, have you heard of, obviously a lot of people know who this is, Michio Kaku. He says, yes, I call him Michio Kuku.
Yeah, you said there were 11 dimensions, and then now they're saying that there's 17.
Yeah. So I told them,
they're saying that they're opening portals at CERN and that there's stuff coming through.
It's been going on and going on and going on. So judging by this guy's pedigree, I said, where did you go to your school? St. Petersburg. He says, I have a university. I teach for a long time. I said, I want to make money. I come here. I teach at UT, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. I said, so we sat down. I met with this guy. One day I came in there after work and after his workout, and we went and we sat, we talked or whatever. Talked to him for like an hour, and I picked his brain. He explained to me why he believes that. You remember this, right, Anthony? Mm-hmm. He explained why he believes there were 6 dimensions. I said, I don't believe that at all. 11 dimensions is probably more correct. In fact, I would say 12. I know that's a weird thing because mathematically, but I can tell you this. If you look biblically and then you read the different texts, the ancient text, there are all these different levels. I know that there are at least 7. The reason I believe that is because in much of these ancient texts, it says God dwells at the 7th heaven, right? That's the lowest level of God. But there are 3 levels above that, and then there is the highest throne, which would mean that there are 11. That, though, is for the throne room, which God accepts others to be a part of, right? The 11th level. And I'm not going to get into all this, but there is a room where God will go to be alone. Yes or no? Yes, I believe this. That is where he dwells in the 12th. So I look at it from a biblical standpoint, and I told this young man, and he's in his 30s, right? And I'm already in my 40s. And I said, I'm almost 10 years older than you, and I'm going to tell you something. I said, I look at these things from a perspective of God's dimensions are infinite. He says, no, I don't believe the God that there's many gods and there's God and there's that. And I said, I understand where you're coming from with that, but I'm telling you what I know from the ancient text. And I also told him, I said, how many languages do you read and write in? He said, 4. I said, I read and write in a lot more. I'm going to tell you something. I said, once you get to a certain point and you can understand and fathom God, which we will never do, then I'll let you tell me how many dimensions there are in the world. And the world, he said, well, there's many worlds. I said, the world being all that you can observe, which is the infinite universe, right? So that is a weird, maybe convoluted sort of explanation, but that's what I believe, and that's what I think is going on. And I'm going to tell you right now, there are a lot of people with a lot of different perspectives. Like Chato said, there are 17. Some people say that. I think Michio Kaku is correct when you look at the visible 11, right? But I also believe that there is a room that is reserved for the Most High, who he doesn't allow anyone into, which is his own space, which is actually him. So therefore, I believe there's 12. That's just my opinion. A lot of people are going to say something different and they're going to argue about it. The frequencies are what they are. And you can find that God frequency. It is said.
There are also like 12 states of matter too. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, if you look at,
a lot of people don't know that
3, 6, and 9, it would be 3, 6, 9, and 12, right? Mm-hmm. I do believe that is correct. Some people believe that there are 9 dimensions. These people that believe in the 9, that 9th level, they're trying to say that these ancient ones dwell or exist in that 9th level. They do not. That is not correct, because that would put them in heaven, and they're not there because they've been kicked out. The one Most High is not somebody that you can bargain or reason with. He doesn't work like that. You can bargain and reason with the ancient ones. You can't bargain and reason with him, because he is the law. He is lawful good in its purest form. He is light. Where he dwells and exists, darkness doesn't. Therefore, those beings cannot, which are made of dark matter, they cannot be where he is.
You think the 369 has something to do with the Kabbalistic tree, like the Kabbalah, the tree of life?
There is a couple.
And
There
like the
is
nine
a tree
gates.
of life in many different religions and many different, and it's just different frontiers.
Yeah, but
So
like,
anyway,
what was the
hold on one
old,
second,
like how many levels did it used to go up in the old
Chado,
order of?
That's what happens when you start drinking the cerveza. Cállate, mijo. Hey, look. So Daniel, does that explain it to you, or what do you think? I think his mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
Is he frozen up? No.
Jeremy has a good thing. He says, "Go ahead, Daniel. I can hear you now."
It was me.
Oh, that's you. So Daniel, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the elder gods got you or what, but we lost you there.
If you believe that every individual light spectra is actually its own dimensional time space, then there's technically thousands.
There's infinite.
Yeah.
If you asked me to tell you the kind of dimensions that we could go to, would be 12. But if you asked me to say how many dimensions there really are, I would say you can't count the sands on the beach. You can't count.
And then each person is their own individual dimension as well, because they create their own reality.
That's right.
And then it's all like
333. Right when we're talking about it, you see that right there?
Yeah.
That's weird.
And then imagine how many infinite timelines there are in each universe, and then how many universes there are like in total, and then like inverses of the universe and other versions of themselves. It's just
getting real deep there with the fractals.
Yeah, just mind blowing.
See, Shadow, that's why I like you. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were talking about the 369, and I'm thinking here, because this is just my opinion where I'm at currently. 3 plus 6 plus 9 is 18. And I'm more looking into the total dimensions being 9, but there's also mirrored dimensions, which would make it 18. So 3 plus 6 plus 9, you have 9 dimensions, and all of them have a mirrored dimension that's opposite. It's just my opinion on it. And then going off of what Josh said, the 12th dimension, or the final dimension where God goes to like stay by himself, he would be in two, like there'll be those 2 upper dimensions because there's a parallel to it. So that's what I wanted to weigh in on.
I believe that one dimension is where everything is compressed into one, all time, everything that has been and will be is just like pressed into one, and that's
yes, it's with
like his engine. That's his engine that he uses to judge you and everybody else. And he can scroll through like your timeline, like flipping through the pages of a book.
If you've ever read the Kabbalah, it talks about, and I don't read it because I want to do magic or whatever, but I've read it. I've read many, many, many books about all this different stuff, and I've been blessed with a memory, a really good memory to recite things and remember things. Some people call it photographic. It's border photographic. But here is one thing I got to say, and in that book, it talks about the demons is what they are, the demons, the Shadim, whatever. They are compressed beings from another universe that collapsed. And so that's why they look like multiple different beings all pushed in, because they were literally compressed and their soul energy was compressed. That's a weird thing to think about. It's hard to wrap your mind around. But then there is also...
It's Legion.
Yeah, Legion, exactly, a hive mind. But you got to realize there's more to it. When they talk about worlds and universes, it could be something that was prior here on Earth, like a yuga, like in the Hindu belief of the yugas. What I mean is, like in the Dwapara Yuga, these giants, they died in the flood. They were compressed beings. They got compressed by the water. The Denisovians, most of the bones that we find come near the ocean. And they're these huge bones, and they've been crushed. They can tell that there was this pressure that was applied to them that killed them. It's a weird thing. So that could be another explanation. But I'm just saying, if there was a universe and it collapsed in on itself, you're talking about what Steve says, the mirrored image, and it goes like this, It's a hard thing to wrap your mind around when these aliens talk about how they bend space and time to come through. They literally bend it and turn it and twist it, and they join it together, to come through these, I want to call them portals. I would call them like nexus, like these nexus points.
Yeah, they bend light dimensions.
Yeah. There's all kinds of different stuff going on at one time. And so, it's really odd. People try to tell me, what are the odds? I had another weightlifter guy, but he's a boxer, former boxer, great guy. I like Brian. He's a good guy. But we were talking and we were training at one time when, Anthony, you were training at Blindside at that time with Ciego and them.
Yeah.
Great guys, great coaches or whatever. Good program. They have the Junior Olympic program there. Great guys. Shout out to them. But we were talking, and Brian was, he's a pro boxer, and we're BSing, and we were hitting the speed bag and videoing it and stuff. And he was telling, do you really believe in all that stuff, that weird, and these are fighters. They're very like, I'm punching something physical, it's a, I'm going to punch this. It's, if I'm not swinging at a ghost, I'm hitting something, And I said, dude, everything you're doing here is really just an imagination. It's an agreed upon illusion. It's like when you meet somebody who has the ability to be fast. I tell them all the time. What do I tell them, Anthony? About speed. What do I tell people? Fighters.
Oh, the speed kills?
No. Well, that too.
Oh, you're the one with it. You either got it or you don't.
Yeah, you either got it or you don't. I can teach you to be faster, but I can't teach you to be fast. You're either born with it or you're not. And then I had a guy who was a smart student, and he says, well, I'm quick-handed, my brother's not. Why is that? If the world is an illusion and we can create what we want, I said, you can create whatever you want and you can push it out into the ether. And he says, okay, then why can't my brother just will himself to be fast? I said, he can, but everyone else has to agree on it.
Some people, you just have to like teach it to them differently.
See,
give them like a big visual, Well, yeah, bro. Like tell them the way that I know. But my kid, he picked up karate, kempo, and like he won state champion, bro. Like 3 times and grand champion once, and like in his first year. But I was like, just pretend like there's a magnet. Just pretend like there's a magnet on your knuckle, and the other magnet is on the guy's face or wherever you want it to hit. And then like he had a problem bringing his hand back. So I was like, pretend like there's a rubber band on your elbow attaching to your hip, and whenever you stretch your arm, the rubber band is pulling it back down this way. And just like give him like little visual cues to where he can see it in his mind, or any person, and like it connects the synapses in their brain and it helps them.
I think if you take one martial arts for stand-up and you were given the choice, you could only do one, I would take Kenpo. Kickboxing would be a second. And a lot of fighters
Bujinkan ninjutsu.
I wouldn't do those. I mean, you can, that's fine, but Kenpo, because that rapid hand strikes and hitting pressure points, that is a very lethal
Chinese
thing.
Chinese Kenpo. That's like
when
my
you
second.
take Chinese Kenpo Kung Fu, you can translate that into boxing. A lot of people don't understand, because I did. I moved from Kenpo into boxing, and a lot of people don't understand. I'd say you could really do some damage if you are Kenpo, if you take Kenpo.
Bujinkan incorporates a bunch of stuff like Kopo Jutsu is basically like the art of breaking bones.
Well, we've also seen that in the UFC, and we've seen that in amateur, and that bone breaking stuff.
But like sudden rapid motions that like
Tank would tell you something different
that like disable the opponent. I'm not gonna give details, but like striking hard and fast to like nerve bundles, and it connects like ninjutsu that connected really well with Chinese Kenpo, so I really liked it.
I don't know about the art of bone breaking.
It's Kopo Jutsu.
What was the guy that the Tank beat up? He was a bouncer over there in L.A. Big Hawaiian guy. John Tua.
Something, Tua.
John Tua. He used to be a bouncer in L.A. right there, and he got in there, and Tank just beat the shit out of him. It was brutal. I would say this. I mean, if you were going to take a martial arts, like I said, if you just picked one and you wanted to use it for your stand-up, of course, with everybody running around like these Georgians, or what are they? These Russians now that they all have the beards. They're Muslims. I don't know what they are. There's a bunch of them. There's Omegev and Bumigev.
Was it Kamzat? What's his name? Kamzat.
Dagestan. All they do is just grab on people like monkeys. And
Dagestan was badass and stuff there, bro. They treated us really well. They fed us really well. It was muddy as fuck. Oh, sorry, muddy as hell. But like they treated us really nice, and there was a lot of food, and it was awesome.
Well, the thing is that the people themselves are fine. They're nothing personal, but I don't like their style of fighting. I agree with Nate Diaz. He says this is boring. He's like, I can't watch
they're like
this
wrestling bear and stuff.
But I think that's pretty interesting. Bears. They wrestle each other and they wrestle the cold. But yeah, I mean, I would even take it a step further. In a stand-up fight, I'd say a brown belt in Kenpo could probably take out just about anybody if they were fighting just pure stand-up. Now,
if it was like no holds barred, like no rules, Kempo, it's really effective.
Yeah, those rapid hand strikes, that cup to the head. I mean, dude, you got some things on there. What the Marines did now, they incorporated in Kachikimbo. It's the Marines took that and they took Kenpo and they took jiu-jitsu and a couple other styles and they mixed it together. And they started teaching that, and that was a very effective style too.
Defendo.
Do what?
Defendo, it's called.
Defendo, yeah. That was like the old '80s one, like back in the day, like in the black and white. They use the club and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever watch Guy Savelli stuff for the Green Berets? He was using that Chinese Kun Tao, or I think it was like I don't think it was Chinese Kun Tao. It's definitely Asian, but like. This guy's hand motions were so rapid he could slap the top of a like glass bottle with his hand, like slap the top off with it and like not move the bottom half. And he was teaching these guys how to like control their pain and stuff with their breathing.
But I would say if you're slow, if you're not a fast person and you're just a slugger or somebody who wants to wrestle, I would say Kenpo is not your cup of tea. If you have naturally fast hands,
yeah,
you could be like a Jeff Speakman. I mean, or Keith Hackney. I mean, those guys are fast. I've seen them do. I saw Hackney do a demonstration in San Antonio years ago, and then I can tell you, man, I was a young guy and I was impressed. And he did very well in the early days of the UFC, but he broke his hand in that one fight against that big guy, the sumo wrestler. The rapid hand strikes are amazing, And when you watch these guys like Speakman. Is just a machine and it's just it's impressive. It's very impressive. I met a couple of masters, Western Chinese Kenpo, and they incorporate that into their military. Very effective White Tiger and Black Dragon, which Black Dragon isn't taught in the United States. It wasn't until 20 years ago, and then it started flittering in because it was not supposed to be taught to Westerners.
Our fighting system was called White Tiger.
White Tiger, yeah, White Tiger. I've had the shirt I've wore before too. One of my dad's friends had a school, and that's how I learned. He sent me there. Got bullied, as a kid, and they were like, just beat him up, whatever. And so I learned. I had to learn.
Ike's sister calls me White Tiger.
If you get a blanco, bro,
maybe it's White Claw. Maybe that's what she's. Look at it. I don't think I want to be called anything by her. I don't think let's just not even go there at all. I don't want to be called. Kevin, what's going on? How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. I could be better. I could be worse. I'm kind of in between,
I sent you an email, a really heartfelt one. I hope that in your numerous activities.
Yeah, I will get to it, man. I have a lot of them. So if somebody has sent me an email and I haven't gotten to you.
I can only imagine how busy you are.
Also today, I found out that a longtime listener of ours passed away.
Oh,
and she had passed away. Today would have been her birthday, so I tried to send her a birthday message, and it didn't. It went on her page, and I went on there and I looked. I hadn't heard from her in a while, and I noticed that it was not like there was no responses or anything. I guess it would have been yesterday, and then I looked and I saw. So I sent her a message and said not available. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here. But her family, I'm not going to say her name out of respect, but her mother, they're in mourning. And I don't know how she passed away, but she was a very good person, nice, very sweet person. She left behind a newborn. I mean, not a newborn,
God.
a 2-year-old, 1-year-old.
Do you know the nature? Was it untimely?
That's the thing. I can't discuss it. So I told her, her mother, but that's what happened to me today.
Was she one of our friends from the chat?
She used to be in the chat, but her mother said that she spent a lot of time watching our show with her. And so, but my heart goes out to them. But and this isn't the first time that has happened. I've had many people reach out to me and say, hey, someone has passed away. But this one I found out on my own because there was no response. And typically there is from her. And so she passed away 4 months ago or 3 months ago.
Wow.
So sad thing. Man. And so there's a lot of sadness going on in the world.
Yeah. I know.
And it's happening. And we got to stick together because the
my
people
brother's dog got hit
us,
by a car last week, dude. And like, that shit sucks because my dog died this year too in February. And then we just lost him. And like, that was one of because I had a Chihuahua and that was like from her second litter. And like, he had the dog and yeah, it got hit by a car because it ran off into a street just suddenly. And, a lot of bad stuff, man. We went and buried him in my friend's property where I was staying before, up in the mountain. But I called him up and I was like, hey, can you let us bury him? And he's like, yeah.
Sorry.
Everybody needs to plead the blood of Jesus over their family, their friends.
Yeah, I keep telling my brother that, and like, he doesn't listen, man. And he has like these weird I'm not going to say like, I could pretend like I don't know. He has these rings, like an Egyptian one, and then he has another one that my father gave him that he shouldn't be wearing, that he gave me. He had a makar on it, and I threw it away. But I don't know. And then something really negative happened in his apartment like 2 weeks before that, like a week and a half before that. Like, really, I'll text you what happened, like a messenger, but something really negative. And it's just bad stuff happening everywhere all around. But this one's really bad. Like, I'll message you what happened to him. Like, oh my, like, to a point where I'm like extra worried about him. Like, I have him come over and spend the night with me sometimes so he's not alone, because now he doesn't even have his dog. And yeah, dude, it's bad.
Watch out for him.
Like, bad. I pray for him every night, and he worries me a lot because he's a drinker. Like,
Kevin, or not Kevin, I think Daniel, I think your mic is loud there.
Yeah, you got some background noise going on, like a fan or something.
Before we head, I want to say, Scott, you've been quiet this whole time. What do you got going on, Scott?
Well, yeah, pretty fascinating. It's good to have these sites because people are like-minded and
can barely.
Yeah, it's really difficult to hear you. You sound like you're really far away from your microphone. You sound very muffled.
Where's the dog mask?
Your audio is real bad, Scott.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
See if you can get that. So, Daniel, did you fix your audio? Are you able to?
Yeah, I was about to. I tried to quit and rejoin. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, 12 dimensions, 12 disciples, 24 hours. Is there any correlation?
12 houses of the zodiac.
Yeah, I do believe that. I believe that it's all connected. And I believe that 12 is a very important number. And I believe that there's a code to everything. And I believe God uses that. That's my opinion. And I think that's part of the reason why I believe in 12.
You guys hear that noise?
Yeah.
There's some kind of background noise going on.
A lot of feedback.
So, I was going to ask, the Dogman, like, he chases people around and he likes to scare people. Is that because, like, we can, like, you said the ether, like, you could put an idea out into the ether? Like, how do they benefit from that or something, like making us afraid or something?
Fear. I think fear is a very important factor in these encounters. And people make the mistake of thinking that these things won't unalive you. I think that's a huge error.
Big time.
Because I think people go missing all the time, and we don't know what happens to these people.
No kidding.
And I think that Bigfoot, Dogman, and all the above are responsible for a lot of this stuff. And these demons, these entities, these whatever, I believe, have a lot of influence in this because they are right above us. They are said to spy on the angels, right? We've heard this in many ancient books that are not in the Bible and also in the Quran, and they all say the same thing. That would say that they are in the 5th or 6th density. 6 would be sort of the in-between zone where the angels can dwell without harassment. So we would look at the 5th, right, for them. They can move up to the 5th, but I don't think they go beyond that. I think that they spy in the 6th on the 6th, but they can't go into it. They have to stay on the lower levels, but they're closer to us in the 3rd dimension, especially the 4th density. And I believe that these demons have a lot of power here. But it's because we, as an agreement, we agree on it. Like I was telling my boxer friend, he was a pro boxer, and I told him, I said, you will things into existence.
Right.
Yes. But also things exist because people agree upon it. That's why Jesus says, where 2 or more are gathered together in my name, it shall be. Because if we all right here agree on something, we have a lot of power to make it happen. The thing is, you can push that out into the ether, but there's a pushback. You see,
What we believe we make real.
Yeah, what we believe we make real. Exactly.
Thought plus conviction equals manifestation, and things manifest in time and degree according to how those thoughts are sped with conviction.
Yeah,
amazing.
Think of this. What Steve said, very important, and I don't want to interrupt you, Kevin, but we got to run here in a bit. But we got to get this out, Steve. What you said, how everything mirrors one another. Yes. I've gotten stories from people, not a whole bunch, but a few. I have a handful of people who've looked into mirrors and seen their image move and do different things. Not necessarily because it's a demon, but there is something to that maybe their image is moving at a different time, at a different rate, because it is something that they're seeing from another dimension that is them. It's another reality. Let's put it that way. And I've heard of people running into themselves. Like one guy was in a Chinese restaurant. He was going into the bathroom. It was P.F. Chang's. It was a Chinese restaurant. He was going into the restroom and he said, "Oh, excuse me." And he bumped into himself. And when he looked up,
hey,
the
why
person
owe you
was
money?
gone. And he was in shock. And he said, so he messaged me frantically. And I know this guy. His name's Brad. And Brad is actually, Brad from the Hernandez Ranch. Yeah. So Brad tells me, he messaged me. He says, "Man, I got this. What are we going to do? I got a problem, And of course, I stay up late. It's like 2 a.m. And I looked at my phone and I said, okay. So I messaged him back and he says, "Can you call me?" Brad's never done that. He's never said, "I got to call. I got to talk to you," like I'm a therapist or something. And I called him. I go outside, and I told him, I said, "What's going on?" He says, "Dude, I ran into myself in a restaurant." He goes, "Now I've seen some weird things." He saw this bear-like creature. We call the Bear King, maybe not. I don't know. But he said, he's like, when you run into yourself, what does that mean? So his wife, who's actually, she's Vietnamese, she played a trick on him. She says, well, she was not taking him totally seriously. She says, well, maybe you made a mistake. He said, "No, I didn't. I didn't make a mistake. That was me wearing the same clothes." And she says, did he tell you that you need to change how you dress? So she kept messing with him, right?
Amazing.
Then she tells him, she says, oh no, wait a minute. Hold on. I need to call my sister. This woman's always messing with him. So she calls her sister, and then she's like, uh-huh. And he's like, what is she? And she's over there doing this. And she says, "Oh my gosh, you're doomed. If you ran into yourself, you're going to die." I said, this guy wouldn't even finish dinner. So he goes out and he's like, takes the food home, and then he waits, and then he's pacing back and forth. Calls me up, doesn't smoke cigarettes, but he's smoking, right? Because he ever since he saw what he saw out there near not at the Hernandez Ranch, but near it, he's like, my whole reality changed. It wasn't it's not what it was. There's a whole nother world. And I kept telling him, I said, the real reality is right there. It's right there. It's tangible. Now he's freaked out because this woman told him that, and I didn't pull any punches. I said, I have no idea. I hate to tell you that. To do some research on it. It is in certain cultures a bad omen, right?
Yep.
I believe the reason that in the Asian culture, not in the Vietnamese, she was messing with him, but in certain aspects of Chinese culture, it is a bad omen to see yourself or a doppelganger. I think because of the reality of the inversion of the mirrored, what Steve was talking about, that could be something very negative, right? Also, when you run into yourself, it could be a demon that's masquerading as you. So those are some things you need to look at and say, hey, maybe this is not You know, and so it is kind of scary, and it was unnerving, and it scared the hell out of him.
I can see why they believe that in a culture where they all look the same.
Oh,
Jeez Louise,
hey,
dude.
Josh, a quick one. I've got a friend.
You're trying to get my algorithms busted
I'm
even more.
kidding,
Dude.
I'm
Thank you
kidding,
for
I'm
giving
just playing around. I'm just
Advised hillbillies something
jokes.
to throw at.
Just a quick one,
Jokes.
Josh. I have a friend who I think he would benefit from meeting. He was at a Dogman experience years ago. He was on a podcast a while back, but he's had multiple encounters since then. And I think anyone would find his story spellbinding. His name is Cornell, and I'm going to point him towards you. And
I think I know who you're talking about. Are you talking about Howie? Is that Howard?
No.
Okay, all right.
He's practically an empath. Very, very sensitive, scary, bright guy. African American cat from the Maryland, Washington D.C. area, and I've known the guy for a couple of years. I could say a lot, but I feel it'd be a little appropriate to share his story with.
No, yeah, just let him tell it. Yeah, because
I'm going to have him contact you. Okay.
Yeah, tell him to contact me, and if he wants me to retell it, I can do that. Y'all know that.
Multiple.
Or he can come on and tell it himself if he'd like.
I think that would be benefit all you guys. It's a series of encounters. It's still going on.
They're all connected too. People don't realize that when you have one, you'll have another. Opportunistic as they are, you know. What you said earlier. I got to say something about that. Not trying to be. I don't want to nitpick or anything, but I want to make sure I clear the air here. I am in no way affiliated with this man from Canada who says these xenophobic and racist statements. I'm going to contact the Canadian authorities so they can put him in the.
I'm on my own, guys.
They're going to report him promptly.
What did I miss?
Dick
Canadian
Richards
government.
talking about the homogenization of the Asian people. They do. There is a lot of, but it's weird. Like I have the ability to tell them apart. Like Anthony, you've seen me do it a million times.
Yeah,
I can talk to somebody for a few minutes, and I can look and I can say, "You're Korean, you're Taiwanese."
Yeah,
it was a joke, guys.
My wife, it blows her mind. I can even the Levantian people. I can tell apart a Syrian from a Lebanese, and they're actually the same people. They're Phoenician, but they when they go into these groups, these haplogroups and subhaplogroups and all this other, they begin to breed. There are facial archetypes, only 26 in the whole world. But some of them belong to certain regions and certain people, and you can tell. I can tell somebody, I know where you're from. I know what part you're from. Like one guy tried to mess with me, and I told him, I said, no, I know exactly where you're from. You're Nepalese. He said he was from Bangladesh. He was messing with me. He said, you'll know where I'm from. I said, you're Nepalese. I could tell. And Andy, you were there. We were at the 7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you're Nepalese, and you're from north of Kathmandu. And he was like, holy crap, dude. That was, I can almost pinpoint it. But I can always tell what people are, usually if I meet them in person, especially, and I can get a beat on them, or if they have an accent. That's just something I'm really good at doing. I've always been able to do. You can't fool me. But there's a lot of people that just walk through their daily life and they think that nothing matters, like you're just taking a stroll. Don't ever take for granted even a walk in the park, because God compels you to walk through the park for a reason. So always look for the reasons why. Because sometimes your heart tells you to do something, you just do it. And you think, well, I thought of that. It's me. I did that. But if you're connected to the God energy, to the Holy Spirit, which is what the God energy is, make no mistake, it will compel you to do and say things that you know is right. I've had people tell me, I feel like I'm not me. I feel like I'm being possessed, or maybe it's intermittent. Yes, it is also. And I tell people this. These things you do and say, you're watching yourself do it. It's like you can't help yourself, or you're obsessed on something, or you have an addiction. You're feeding a spiritual something or other that is literally preying on you. And so what happens with that is you have this profound proclivity that you can't understand. It's like a hunger. It's insatiable. That's why the vampire is what it is, because that other wants that blood. It wants thirst. It wants life force. Give it to me or you will suffer. You will be in pain. The vampire will literally seek out blood in any way it can get it. It's like a drug, right? So it's looking for that hit, that adrenochrome, that blood. This thing that attaches itself to you, that will make you think and feel whatever, because that's what the parasite wants. Once you unattach that and you attach yourself to the power of the Holy Spirit, the God energy, Jesus Christ, God, the Trinity, you will do and say and feel the opposite. You will feel good. You will feel positive. You get up and you're like, I got a million things to do, but I'm going to do all of them. And when I'm done doing all of them, I'm going to feel great because I'm going to be up here. Because we don't live our lives in the middle. Because if you're in the middle, Jesus spews you from his mouth. You're either down here or you're up here. There is no in between. That's the thing people don't understand. You're not just walking down with nothing going on. That's called being an NPC, and anything can run up and attach itself to you. They look for that energy. And when you give it and you put it out into the universe and you're telling the universe, come smack me, that's what's going to happen. Tony today, God bless him, I love him. We're at the dealership. We're trading in the vehicles he's destroyed. Thank God my friends are in that place. He walks out in front of a truck. I kid you not. He's not looking. He just, and I said, Tony. I ran, stop the truck. Hey. And they're like, hey, it's cool. You know, these two people, local people, they're just, the guy's shaking his head like, dang, dude. He's living his life like, I'm just walking, I'm just moving. I'm not even, everything around you, it needs to be paid attention to. If there's one thing, and Scott, you know very well this man, Abe Sears, he always says, keep your head on a swivel, always pay attention to your surroundings because these entities are always around you, opportunistically looking to strike. If you listen to that guy, he can teach you a lot. I'm telling you right now. They're always around you. When you're out doing whatever you think it is, it's just an innocuous thing. It can be the most pivotal point in your life. I have been in the produce section of the H-E-B grocery store, and I have met people with the most profound stories you'll ever imagine. When somebody asks me, how do you do this? How do you work and get people's encounters? Whoever's in, Maddie's right there in the chat. She's been there. She's seen me do it. Anthony's been there. He's seen me do it. A grocery store clerk, somebody that's just standing there at the ATM. I talked to somebody one day. I can tell you right now, the stories are all around you. Everyone has a story. It's all on how you tell it. That's what brings everybody together.
I think that's what's everyone has a story you haven't heard and a burden you can't see. So it's really, the more spiritually minded we are, aware, self-aware and aware of the God and everything, the better we are served and serve others.
That's right.
Amen.
Yep. And I got to run, guys. It's been great, dude. Thank you for dropping by. Kevin, always awesome guy. Daniel, thank you for the thought-provoking questions. Always.
Got a box coming your way, Josh. And thanks, Anthony, are you getting my messages on Facebook or not?
I haven't checked my Facebook messages.
That means he's not paying attention.
I know that I got a. I know that I got a bunch of messages.
Your way. Just keep your third eye open.
Okay.
God bless
Anthony's trying to lie. He's like, he's like a politician. Well, there was a lot of things. See, there was a meteor that I was, and then there was the 1,000 points, and I don't know what was going, and then boom, and then.
That's perfectly done. No,
I'm always logged out of that messenger, so it's
another great show. Another great show, you guys, and
thanks for stopping in, Scott. I'll see you again for sure. We'll be over there at Abe's chat. Always a pleasure. And Daniel, don't ever always ask the questions. If you want to come on a Monday anytime, just say I got a question. You don't have to come up with a story and tell me something amazing. Just bring me the question, and it'll turn into what it is.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Steve, always a pleasure too. Richards.
Thank you.
Watch yourself, man. You're gonna get the CCCP is gonna come grab you.
My man, Jay, what's up?
They're gonna put you in a camp. You want to go to camp? They're gonna take you to church camp. They're gonna put you in their camp.
Yeah,
Watch.
for real.
They're gonna tell you because they believe communism is God.
Well, they've got 14 police stations within an hour of me, so yeah I might have to watch out.
You get your ass to Texas. That's what you need to do, man. Get yourself to Texas. And be prepared to conquer the world with us. That's what we're going to do. Conquer the world with the sword of righteousness. That's what we're doing, brother.
Awesome.
Buddy.
Josh, do you have a minute off camera or not?
Do what?
Do you have a minute off camera or not? Just a minute.
How much of a minute? Because I literally got to go to work.
Literally 60 seconds or less.
Okay. All right. I'll let everybody run. I'm going to jump off here, guys. Going to play the song out, and then I'll talk with you.
Okay. I won't take much of your time, I promise. Dick, let's talk. Everyone, good night. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Nice.
Good night. Thanks.
So, folks, that's another 3-hour show for the what do you call it? The call-in. It's not a call-in. It's where people can jump on and talk live, and tell their stories or ask a question. It doesn't matter. And Richard, you can hang around for a minute too. I'll talk to both of you guys. So, but tomorrow, very important. Get yourself prepared. The Patreon, it's worth it. the story of the Jian tomorrow from Western China. This guy, Hen, told me an amazing encounter. We had fun doing the show and talking about it and talking to him. He's an amazing guy. But get yourself prepared for tomorrow. Join the Patreon, and it's totally worth it because you're going to get an amazing assortment of goodies on top of being, so depending on what level you're on. All right, guys, I got to run. We love you. Good night. So is there a way to talk to them? Let's see here. I'll see you guys later.
Entombed for 3,000 years, wrapped growing in me. I have lived an eternity suspended